I left brain the shit out of it.
If you only love those who act like you and do the things that you want, even the pagans do that. It's Christian love when you love your enemies. Up to and including your enemies. That is Christian love.
And that's where I see the internet losing its mind, and it's like,
Father, forgive them, they know not what they do.
Was because they listened intently to the sermon every week and had small quibbles, and they discussed their quibbles over lunch right after church. And so I listened to them hear the word of God from the man of God, and not just kind of let it wash over them like everything he said was true, but they tested the spirits, and sometimes they definitely fell into probably like gossiping or judging. I'm sure, of course they made mistakes and went too far. They have personality foibles that can get carried away. But like all that to say, that was where the kind of perhaps skepticism, healthy or not, was inculcated for me. But obviously you can see how that would be wrapped up in issues of authority, which I don't know. Now that I'm thinking about it, does that get back to the kind of, is that why the unconditional trust is connected to the unconditional respect in some weird way? That kind of authority structure. When I was a young man, I kind of thought that like all truth was based on authority, because you had to, in order for trust to be, in order for you to hear something and trust it, you had to trust the person that was giving it to you. And the best way to trust somebody is for them to be an authority over you, because you're entrusted to them. On a little play on words, you're entrusted to them, so you trust them. But yeah, now I give a little bit more agency to the individual and a little bit more variety to the human population about how they, behave in those types of relationships. But I think the truth still, I think that there's still a nugget in there that might be helpful for your problem, Af, which is to say, I don't think you teach a healthy skepticism with something that's not on the same level of importance or truth or reality. You teach that healthy skepticism with the most important things in life, which are, for my family in that context was, the word of God given by the man of God on Sunday. So, yeah.
Good evening, everybody. Just a reminder, I'll be out next week. We're going to be doing our Northwestern Waning Pink Moon Campout up at, where is it, at Bayview State Park. So we'll be going and having a great time camping. Would definitely recommend anybody else outside of the Pacific Northwest, if you want to set up a camp thing. I don't think it's anywhere near as difficult as a lot of people might think it is. But we'd be happy to help walk you through the steps and what kind of things we've been doing in order to make it work. But yeah. So out next week, go camp. And one last announcement. Make sure you render unto Caesar what is Caesar's, because 'tis the season. So pay your taxes. On with the show. Good evening, everybody. Afriel here. We hope you're feeling virtually not alone. Tonight, I want to talk a little bit about formulaic iconography. So I'll go ahead and get into the game. And what I mean by that is not iconography that follows a particular formula, although that might be something we get into later. Mentioning Caesar's collectors is not allowed, yeah. Well, it's important to follow certain commandments, in my opinion. There's complexity there, but yeah. Also, thank you to President Foxman for driving the train from his stream over here. Very much appreciated. Let me take a little bit of time to make sure that I have everything set up properly here. Okay, we're building a bunch of warehouses. We have coal mines not working. Did I take the automatons off of it? Or is it... oh, because it's capped. So I need to build more to be able to supply that. Those don't need it anymore because automatons are running those. You got censored for saying you love Caesar's collectors? Interesting. I'm Afriel. Today I'll be losing at Frostpunk. Well, you can lose at this game for sure, but probably not where I'm at this point. I did let a lot of people die last stream, though, due to game interactions that I was not familiar with. But yeah, so today's stream topic comes from on Friday live stream with Paul. I was chatting with some folks in the Hive Mind, and one of the things that came up that I mentioned to Luke Thompson was this idea that I've had bubbling in my head for quite a while of... Are these not upgraded? It's not. Idea that I've had bubbling in my head for quite a while that equations and formulas and graphs and technical drawings and things like that actually serve as sort of materialist icons, and that it actually might be somewhat helpful for better understanding religious iconography to sort of look at and pull from the ways to understand equations and formulas as icons. And like, you're learning in school to see the thing behind the thing. You're learning the equation, you're learning the formula, so that way you can then understand what the physical, what the nature of the relationship is in physical reality that equation is trying to describe. Canticle for Leibowitz illusion. I'm not familiar. You'll have to, if you want to come on and explain, I'm happy to have, but I'm not familiar with that one. Gathering post installation. And so that's just been something that's been on my mind for quite some time, of like, I see a very clear connection there, and I don't know that I've heard much from any other people or anybody for that matter, to make that comparison. Yeah, so hunting falls and then everything gets frozen, so. All our homes as poor as possible. And we've already got plenty of resources, so we should be fine. But it's just a matter of, like, can we get everybody in from all of these outposts before this storm coming in from the north comes and takes us out? But yeah, so, and I think that there's just been a natural, maybe not aversion isn't the right word, but some sort of a tension that has arisen between theology and the rest of the sciences, which I don't think is necessary or deserved, especially if your understanding of the sciences is that you are trying to come into a better understanding of the creation that God has brought into this world and how to then best steward it. If you look at it from that perspective, I think that it just makes a lot of sense to me, and in a way that I can't understand how other people couldn't see it in the same way. Like, and that's not to say that like it's not possible. Like I understand, but it's like once that understanding occurs to you, I don't see how you could see anything but. But I don't think that it's something that is commonly discussed, and there's a tendency in a lot of more materialist veins or trains of thought where like I don't know, there's this tendency to try and deny divinity, and yeah, this is kind of at the edge of my thinking. This when we were talking in the Hive Mind on stream, when I was talking with Luke, I had mentioned that this was still kind of like a half-formed thought, and so beg pardon for the fact that this is kind of a half-formed thought, but it was also one of those, like, I think I actually do have enough going with it to be able to have a relatively well-articulated thing, at least enough to warrant having a stream for it. So, hopefully y'all don't mind suffering through it a little bit. I will go ahead and hop into Discord, though, if anybody wants to join me. Otherwise, I'll just keep yapping away. Let's see. Hop into the gaming couch and stream. Come on, Discord. First punk. And away we go. Actually, while I'm paused, I'm just going to go look up Canticle for Leibowitz, because I feel like that's going to be potentially important to the discussion. Especially if there are people who have been already discussing this before. Canticle for Leibowitz, post-apocalyptic science fiction novel. Okay. Catholic order seeking to preserve humanity's scientific knowledge after nuclear war. I had not heard of this. I might have to check that out later. Okay. I'll have Skank in here in just a minute. And that also kind of touches to, like, a lot of the preservation of knowledge was done by monastic orders for quite some time in Europe. So why is that iconographic formulation? So I was playing with the title. It's not that the iconography is being formulated or that it is formulaic. It's that formulas act as icons. That when you see a formula, when you see an equation, that is a representation that is trying to disclose to you some underlying reality, some relationship that exists in physical reality that is not the thing that's on a chalkboard, but the thing that's on the chalkboard is trying to get you to understand how reality actually works. And how I think that understanding would be very helpful, because you like, there's a lot of talk whenever you're talking about religious stuff about idolatry and wanting to make sure that you avoid being idolatrous. And for a lot of religions, that just means thou shalt not engage with any form of iconography because of the strong risk of that turning into idolatry. And I don't think that is the proper way to approach it. I think that there's a lot of value to be had in appropriately using icons, but yeah, that's the important part. You have to appropriately use them. You have to actually understand what it is that the icon is trying to convey, and you have to, when you are trying to then convey that icon to someone who's uninitiated or unfamiliar, you have to make sure that you're actively taking steps to communicate that to them in a way that does not cause idolatry with them. Because it's very, very easy to let other people slip into that. Maybe that's not the best. Idolatry versus iconoclasm. Yep. I don't shop at Dollar Tree because it's idolatry. Oh, howdy, Joy. Evening. Have I seen Christ the Divine Geometer Architect icon? Arithmetic physical laws as empirical revelations of government of the created order. I have not. I might. Hang on. Let me just Google this real quick. Christ the Divine, what's it, Geometer? '13th century theological concept and artistic motif, most notably depicted in the Bible, Biblia Moralise, illustrating God creating the universe using a compass. Interesting. And particularly interesting because, at least for the image that I'm seeing right now, that looks like a fractal. Interesting. Yeah. And then, the one thing that also makes me think of that I'm a little bit cautious about is the notion of a grand architect of the universe. Because there's some interesting thinking in that vein. Where does this need to go? There. Can I drop it back one? This is going to be janky. Scientific iconostasis. Like the stability of icons? Is that what we're getting at there? Also, it is going to be too distracting for me to have me seeing the stream, so I'm just going to put Discord over top of OBS. There we go. And maybe actually, if I get rid of that, I can probably just let this run while I'm doing this. Not a gathering post. I clicked the same thing, Resource Depot. Okay, if I build the road out from there, can I fit two, or is it going to restrict me? No, it doesn't like it. Let's see. Be a few more minutes yet. The ice cream line is very long. All good. All good. Okay, now I have to look up iconostasis. Unwatchable. Ornate screen covered with icons that divides the sanctuary from the nave in Eastern Orthodox churches. Okay. Okay. And now I have to rearrange my things again. The physicist's chalkboard as his empirical iconostasis. Yep. Yep. I think that, yeah, that lines up with what I'm trying to convey. And not necessarily needing the same degree of reverence, per se. I'm trying to think of how to... Because I don't want to give the impression that you that we should be trying to treat scientific discovery with the same weight as religion. That's not what I'm trying to say. What I am trying to say is I think that the understanding of equations and formulas as icons has merit in terms of trying to help people have proper relation with iconography and not turning it into idolatry. Topic: an antibody response to Claire Cause accusations of rampant idolatry in the TLC. Non-related inspiration. It's more of a non-related inspiration. Like, this is something that I've had in my head for quite some time. It does kind of relate to that, though, and there might be some degree to which that was where my thoughts were coming from for it. I'm not honestly sure. Oh, Grizz has moderator powers. We're not talking about that, I guess. Yeah, I don't know. It's not... That wasn't where my thoughts were. Like, I'm not gonna dismiss that as a possibility, but that's not where my thoughts were. And the tendency or temptation towards idolatry is something that's ever present. Like, it's not something that just goes away. But. Okay. So we still have to recall scouts and outpost teams, and we have to store a week's worth of rations for all of our citizens. I think what I want to do... So I want to make another cookhouse. And then that cookhouse will help me get the rest of this going. Oh, that's annoying. I might need to build another Faith Keepers then. I can only build one, so we're just going to have to check this one down. That's fine. And we get lots of people who are being treated. Now that we figured out that the care houses were how to figure that out. Discontent will rise, I'm going to bend the rules. I mean, I'm okay with getting a little bit of discontent. Okay. Do we need more coal? Sawmill, steam drill. Infirmary check. Like, yeah, we can probably just go with this for now. Let's send these guys back out. I'm triggered by bird noises. Half was hanging out with Foxman on stream with his chickens out. Yeah. Yeah, we had gotten back home from shopping and we let the chickens out for a little bit because they like to run around and eat grass and eat worms. And Mrs. Pilotson was not feeling very well, so she went to go lie down and I had to go and wrangle them back into their coop before hopping on stream. That's the story there. Have I played a game called Stronghold? No, I have not. I've not heard of it, actually. Is it a colony sim? Okay, these are all full up. I really do want to expand this, but I wanted to let this finish running first. It might be prudent for me to take care of that, though. Oh, and I'm out of steam cores is why I can't do that. Okay. Might put one of these guys back over here. Foxmoon was paying a lot of attention to my chicken routine. Well, I did see some folks joking about chicken choking as I was walking away from the computer, so very naughty indeed. Do I need to have it this hot? I don't think I actually do. Oh no, I do, because there's some buildings that are still chilly. Okay. But yeah, I don't see, like, the idea of, like, theology as the queen of the sciences really resonates with me. I don't see there being an incompatibility the way that a lot of folks seem to between religion and science. Like I was saying earlier, it's very much in my mind, how do you properly come to understand creation, rather than trying to explain away the divine nature or parts of creation. What do I want or need to do here? So I'm trying to figure out if I can put a resource depot here. Let's see if that fits. Still. Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. I'm way over optimizing this right now. Like, this is completely and totally unnecessary, but I'm having fun with it, so. Nothing to do. Back from the dog walk. Howdy, Olson. So maybe I should talk a bit more about how they serve as icons. Food theft causes riots. Banish them, ask the face keepers to supervise. Won't address. Let's skip face keepers, that's fine. Like, we will be fine. We have plenty of food. We will have more. Where was my other kitchen constructed? Did I not build another kitchen? Because I have this one here, and that's pumping out soup. I thought I built another one in the same ring as the aerial hunters, but maybe not. Now that's removed, so now we can just do that. Cool. Okay, so I'm trying to think of what else there would be to say. So, okay, here's an example. When I'm doing my engineering stuff at work. Oh, there he is. Howdy, Skink.
Hey, what's going on?
Not too much. How you doing?
Right.
Better with ice cream?
There's hope. It's been hungover all day, man. It's a rough one.
Didn't you give up alcohol for Lent?
No.
No.
I was saying, like, not this, but that actually is just completely like across the whole thing. It's like, no, you're supposed to give that up forever, bro.
God bless.
No, and not only that, but I was chasing parades all day, so it was. I'm like intentionally throwing myself into the hangover lion's den again.
Getting some good work out of it, though?
Yeah, it was a good, busy, productive day, and I am ready for a nap and then bed.
Very nice. Well, I appreciate you stopping on your way.
I just thought it was incredible that you, like, inadvertently made this amazing illusion at Canonical for Leibowitz. And, like, one, is a bummer you haven't read it. Well, one, a bummer, but two, like, good on you, because I think it's the sort of thing that's right up your alley, because it's very, rebuilding after the world has ended. But the big thing that caught my eye is part of the story is that there's a young monk who's doing his, or I don't know the terms, but he's like a novitiate. or whatever. So he's trying to become like a full deal monk, and so he's got to go out into like the Utah desert that has been like obliterated by like the apocalypse 100 years ago or something like that.
Mhm.
And he ends up stumbling upon a a nuke bunker, so that was supposed to like protect you from the fallout. And he ends up coming across a number of different artifacts, and he belongs to the order of Saint Leibowitz, or Blessed Leibowitz, who's in the process of becoming a saint. It's the book. It's chopped up into three pieces, and there's like 500 years of history between each of them. So it like skips and skips and skips, so you get like jump starts of how the world is trying to rebuild itself.
Okay.
And this order is founded around this guy Saint Leibowitz, who is basically after all of the nuclear fallout settles, the world is like, it's the smart people that did this to us, kill them all and burn all their books.
Yep.
And Leibowitz is a martyr for being like, books are good, maybe.
Don't burn all of them.
Right. And so there's this order that's basically look, anything that is written down from the old world we will take. And they're trying to piece together the world through all these kind of disparate pieces of data that don't fit into a coherent intellectual system world, because the world is broken down. And anyway, the thing that the first story kind of focuses on, this guy finds a couple of just little pieces of preserved data, and there's just really inconsequential things like a shopping list, a couple of half-written notes to somebody, and he also comes across like a technical diagram for I don't know, like putting together a radio transistor or something like that. And in what little spare time this monk has, he takes that very technical diagram and he treats it like something that's worthy of medieval illumination. So he starts to reproduce it, and kind of like speckle it with gold and stylize it and flourish it and all this stuff.
Yeah, there's a real danger of and that's so funny. Like, even within an established organization, and there's not the way that most people interact with technology already is functionally as though it were magic. And there are already plenty of rituals and superstitions and all sorts of fun stuff in that vein of people already it's functionally magic to them already. It's just, we're already there, and so but I hadn't thought of it in terms of sacred scripture, treating a textbook as sacred in the same way that a monk retranscribing the New Testament would be. That's interesting.
Yeah, and just the idea that this is a piece of sophisticated information that is completely meaningless to him and everybody else in this monastery. But he still is it's from the old world. It was meaningful at one point in time.
And
we're
maybe
going to hold on to it. We're going to
to
preserve it.
Yeah.
Right. Yep.
Oh, for Olson and Upcycle, there's a book called The Canticle of Leibowitz. Is that right? So it's a sci-fi
for Leibowitz.
Canticle for Leibowitz.
By Walter Miller. It's phenomenal. It's I think it's more people than a lot of, I guess, a good TLC text. If you're in here, you will probably enjoy it a lot.
Yeah, it definitely sounds right.
And also Discord me, and I'll send you a link to NPR. Did a 15-hour audio dramatization series that's really, really good. So yeah, now hit me up and I'll drag that link and send it your way.
Yeah,
to you and anybody else in the chat.
Yeah. That'll be a good town square post. Yeah, that has a lot of resonance with the Foundation saga from Asimov. That same kind of but in a much more earthbound rather than a fantastical galactic sort of setting.
And interestingly, the Catholic is less hopeful and optimistic than Asimov.
Mm-hmm. Well, because Asimov, I don't know if it's necessarily that Asimov was being hopeful and optimistic. It's more that he was trying to conceive of a way for things to work out. At least that's how, like, he's like, if it works out, this is what it's going to look like. If I had to take a guess.
I mean, I think Asimov does have that sort of like core modernity, like utmost confidence in the powers of science to solve our problems if we can gather enough data.
Well, and that's it's very much it is a problem to be solved, and the only way for you to find a solution to it is if you assume that it can be solved, and then through that you're able to then start looking through and drafting things.
Yeah.
Canticle, not conticle. Let me just.
Yeah.
Canticle for Leibowitz. There you go.
But I also think kind of like the beat that you're off this whole stream. I think it's interesting. I think you're definitely mining a vein of gold there,
Mm-hmm.
insofar as like, especially like technical formulas and equations. Those are kind of incredible, like compressions of information.
Yes. Well, and it's important. They're incredibly powerful compressions of information in, I think, a similar way to the way that scriptures are, but you shouldn't. Like, you don't want to cargo cult it. You don't want to. You have to actually come to the deeper understanding that the icon is trying to get you to perceive. If you just take it at face value and you worship the thing of itself, you are making an idol of it. And like, I saw that so much with my classmates when I was going through college, was that they would be memorizing things or just learning things for tests. Like, to me, that's a form of idolatry. Like, you're worshiping the thing as such rather than coming to the understanding of the thing behind the thing that the thing is trying to show to you. Ice cream break, I guess. Either that or...
No, you dropped out. I couldn't hear you for a minute there.
Let me try and restate. To me, students who are just memorizing stuff for a test, or who are trying to just use without understanding whatever it is that they're engaged with, they are engaging in... It's a materialist idolatry, but it is idolatry. They're worshiping the icon as the thing behind the thing. I don't know how that lands for you.
I don't know. I think part of it is, it's also that, like, another part of idolatry is also instrumentalization.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, the question is, what do you want? Do you want students that love math for the sake of math, appreciate equations simply for the beauty of the equation and the fact that it's true, or you want that for their, or you want them to engage for the sake of the equation's usefulness in like building a bridge that stands?
Well, and not just that, but what is the system telling them is valuable? Because it's not just like when we're talking about that, it's not just about what are the students believing is valuable about their education. It's also about what is the educational institution itself telling them is valuable. And I think in a lot of cases, it is very instrumentalized.
Mm-hmm.
Upcycle says, good professors allow cheat sheets simply because for some students it's the only way to learn. I think that there's actually a better, like, if you tell students that they can make cheat sheets, then the process of them making the cheat sheet is actually going to teach them what they need to know.
Because it's another way of forcing them to compress the information.
Right, but they think they're getting one over on the professor, and so by doing that little mental trick there, you get them to learn without them realizing that they're learning.
Mm-hmm.
And we can turn this one back on. Oh, that's what. Okay, that's what Ups was trying to get at. But yeah, it's I don't know that anyone in academia would agree with or understand or see the utility in classifying that kind of learning as idolatry, but to me that just jumps out as like, yep, that's exactly what that is.
I don't know. It's a little bit trickier with like things that we come across and teach usually for kind of like pragmatic purposes.
Mm-hmm.
But I guess there's something about this, especially the fact that like equations as compressions of information.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. Something about like an icon should be, or kind of like more of a like a sacred orthodox icon is a compression of truth. That ideally should, if you gaze at it, contemplate it, should give you wisdom for navigating the world well.
Mm-hmm.
So I guess I don't know what's the difference between idolatrous mathematics and wise mathematics.
Mm. So, I don't think, because like knowledge without application is kind of masturbation in a way. So I don't think that it's necessarily about constraining or saying like it can't be useful, it only has to be beautiful in order for it to be proper. Like, that's not correct. Also, I should bring in my outpost team. Yeah, dismantle. Howdy, Ron.
Just got here. What'd I miss?
We are currently contemplating how to have non-idolatrous relations with education.
Idolatrous? I don't think you should do it. I think it should be idolatrous. I think there should be temple prostitution. I think we can make this work.
Never has in the past, but I think some things will be different for no reason whatsoever.
Exactly.
Right.
Okay, so I might be wrong. I'm just saying, but I think if you want to see what's working, let's start with what's wrong. Do that for a little bit and move on.
I mean, at least even if you're doing something that's wrong, at least you're doing something.
Right, that's true. God can convict you or kill you. So assuming that I might be wrong, where are you guys out on this?
I mean, Skank posted as a question, and I'm trying to work through it in my head, because it's not...
Oh, I'm sorry.
It's just not something that I'd really thought of before. Like, and that's part of the reason I like to bring this stuff up on streams, is because I like to get the feedback and then have you guys challenge me on like what it is that, like, not just like is my thinking correct, but like what am I not thinking about in relation to whatever it is. And really quick, in response to Upcycle, question is whether rote learning is a key part of becoming a chess player. Kind of, but the really important part of it is understand. It's in the same way that like you incidentally memorize mathematical formulas when you're trying to learn and understand how things work, but you can always rederive if you actually understand what you're doing. That's what chess rote memorization looks like, is that you just follow the same path enough times that you know this goes here, goes here, goes here, and you can explain the underlying reasoning why, but it's more that the memorization is incidental to rather than purposeful in and of itself.
I think there's wise memorization and there's kind of foolish forced memorization.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a certain kind of magical thinking where, like, if I just put all of the information in the kid's head, it will be useful, and they will be able to make the wise decision if it's in there. And I mean, it does have to be in there.
Mhm.
That's not necessarily wrong.
Mhm.
But you have to, once it's in there, or as you're putting it in there, it has to be configured into a usable structure,
Mhm.
which is going to require the mental work of the student, taking stock of what has been put into their head, and
Yep.
seeing how well that map they've been given with the territory they.
Ron, are you going pee?
No, I'm sorry. I'm washing
Look
it.
for the Death Stranding
Oh,
stream, Ron.
man.
Come on.
Oh, I should have, dude. That's a perfect sound effect. Then, if ever doing a live stream, just turn on your faucet and watch something. Wow. All right. So my, I don't know. How do I recover from that? Maybe I should
Don't
just
go
take a
number
bow.
2, please.
Right.
Sploosh.
Well,
Let's go to the chat real quick. So from Embergate, what is education? What is the proper relation we should have with it? And then bring academia into the mix.
oh, can I ask a question?
Go for
What
it.
are you educating them for?
So that,
That-
yeah.
Hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Because if you like, all right, let's say, when did formal education first start? Why did they do it, and what kind of person did it turn them into? And how has it changed or similar?
You're already asking another question. What kind of person did it change them into?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And that's. So, I mean, I think before we jump into, like, what is education, which is a massive and kind of like abstract topic, one thing I wanted to draw out, going back to our icons, is compressed information.
Mhm.
Or equations, as similar to icons, that they're like deeply compressed information that, if you contemplate them well, will enable you to live well in the world.
Mm-hmm.
When you, in the same way of, that when you approach an icon, also, like, when you approach an equation, you need to be, like, initiated into it. Like,
Yes.
you need to be brought into, like, taught to understand what this means, how it applies, how this is seen, how we got here.
Springs
And
up
that's-
Egypt. Chris Howard, math is different because it's fractal over large domains, so a small sample is not really a compression of a larger thing. So, math in particular gives you the ability to see and understand the patterns that are representative and repeated through a whole bunch of different domains. That's why it's kind of like it's hard to teach math while teaching, like, hey, this is how this is going to be applied in a lot of cases, but it's so universally applicable that, like, oh man, there's just so much you can do with it once you have it. But you have to, and like there was one instance where I had a friend of a friend in college who was playing Minecraft and actually took the time to learn binary arithmetic so he could mess around with redstone. And so I think that there's definitely a case to be made where if you can get somebody to see in a more direct way, like, hey, this is going to be why the thing is important, and make it directly tied to something that they already want, it'll be a lot easier to convince them that it's worthwhile for them to take the time, effort, energy, attention to learn that thing, rather than, oh, this is just some nonsense that my teacher is asking me to learn, but it's not actually going to have any real applicability.
That's it. If I would have only known.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean,
But how could you know?
Yeah. Well, I mean, and it wasn't even described. They never even said, if you do this, you can go do cool stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Anyhow, I like your applicability thing. I think that's brilliant.
Mm-hmm.
I think most kids, if you taught them math in relationship to sports, at least the guys would get it a lot. They'd at least appreciate it. They would care.
They'd have a reason to care.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And when it's just, okay, I want you to learn your multiplication table, and you're in, whatever grade. Exactly. They're like, screw, they might do it, but they'll hate it, and or they might just hate. They might.
I literally told a kid this week just to keep brute forcing her multiplication tables, because if it's in there, it is a tool that you can do so much with, and it's hard to get you to love multiplication tables for themselves.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, because my mom teaches high school algebra, and it's just like, and she's like, you can tell who's got their multiplication tables and who doesn't, and it's almost like you could almost be classified as a learning disability if you don't have your multiplication table.
I think you're
well entrenched in your head.
Well, all right. Side note, I think it's in 2nd or 3rd grade. They can determine who's going to go to jail. At that age, just because they'll judge their math skills.
On their math skills?
Yep.
Oh, that I wasn't aware of.
Yeah, math skills.
My understanding, like the kind of like make or break course is like Algebra 1 in high school. That's the thing that it's like that's the hurdle.
Really?
Just throw it.
Can you think in abstract terms? Can you allow for variables that allow for different things to swap between? Yeah. Yep.
And it's a requirement for graduation so you can get over that hurdle that
right.
Kind of like nukes your ability to honestly get it.
Yeah. Well, and UPS brings up the fact that dyscalculia is very real, and I'm curious. Does that just impact numbers, or does that also impact algebra and like calculus and everything else further from that? Open question to you, UPS, or anybody else who knows.
What is that?
It's like dyslexia, but with numbers.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, that would be rough.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
So, Chris Howard. So I should get some credit for keeping my math challenged wife out of prison.
Oh yeah, she could be a mass killer by now.
Yeah.
Good job.
Impacts a lot of mathematical things. Okay. Sorry, go ahead.
Oh no, I was gonna say, or we should lock her up because you never know who she is.
She's just gonna snap one day.
Nope, it's a gangbanger in waiting, man. It's only a matter of time.
That's it.
Okay,
I couldn't do a quadratic equation, and I snapped.
Mm-hmm. Including mathematical reason. Okay. Yeah. So going back a little bit, Rod, since you joined a little bit late, what I was trying to do with the stream title was identify the fact that you have, not to say that like you have iconography that is formulaic, but that formulas, equations, graphs, etc. act as icons for like a materialist sense, where you have this thing that's a representation that is trying to invite you and call you to see the thing behind the thing.
Okay. Yeah.
But that you're not supposed to worship the equation. You're not supposed to just memorize the equation. You're supposed to take what the equation is telling you and then understand what the underlying physical reality is that it's trying to teach you, that it's trying to convey to you.
Gotcha. Okay. Right. That's it. Well, that's a pretty heady concept there. That can you? I am agreeing with you. But can you explain that one? Can you give it an example?
Sure. So let's say you have a circuit diagram. So you have a bunch of symbols on a sheet that represent resistors, capacitors, wires, switches, batteries, all sorts of different stuff.
Right.
And the intent with something like that is to provide a schematic or instruction for somebody to then take and construct the actual thing itself.
Right.
So the diagram, the schematic, it's a representation. It's an icon. It's not the actual circuit itself, but it's a way of showing the circuit that allows you to understand it and allows you to communicate it with other people as well. And in that same, so it's functioning in a similar way to a religious icon that is trying to disclose patterns of reality to the people who are observing it.
Okay. So my question is math a language? And if so, is it one with or without emotion?
It has properties that I don't know if I would necessarily say it is a language, but it definitely has some relationship to language.
Okay.
And there definitely is like pretty math versus ugly math.
I don't know. I'm of the opinion it is a language. And I'm just playing with this. It's a language, but I don't think it can convey. I could be wrong about this. Emotion, because if it's a language, because then it'll be able to convey whatever I want. If I can speak that language, I might be setting myself up to. Because my thing is, AI will never have emotion, love.
What if? What if
No,
AI calls spirits into itself?
Oh, yes. Okay, let's say it is. Yeah. Okay, so yes, it is. I guess, you know what? You're right. Maybe they are. They do have emotions. They just want to kill you. Sorry. I'm being somewhat.
The negative one.
Embergate has a really good point too. It's a transcription of a pattern. So, does music have emotion? And then if music does have emotion, does sheet music have emotion?
Okay, fair point.
Like, could you take a symphony and then, without having heard that symphony before, understand intuitively what that symphony is trying to convey emotionally, and recreate the highs and the lows? Like, one thing that my wife showed.
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
One thing that my wife showed me recently was a conductor who was working with a violinist, because he was trying to convey to that violinist, like, you're doing this, and I want you to do this instead. And like that emotional resonance was a really key part of it. Like, he was teaching the violinist to convey emotion through the way he was playing his instrument.
Okay.
Also, Ups has a very correct thing in the chat. Math is discovered, mathematical notation is invented, math is not invented. Yes. Sorry.
Oh. No, it's good. Like, this is Ups' wheelhouse. Hi, Ups.
If that's the case, then I think it's mathematical notation that's the language rather than math itself. Math is the thing we talk about with mathematical notation.
Okay, so is language the thing that we talk about with? Like, because there's some weird polysemy going on here.
Yeah, I mean, I think languages we typically understand it: English, French, German, Chinese, whatever. It is interpersonal language. So it is language that is between persons, and I feel like when we're getting into mathematical notation, the thing that is contrived versus discovered, I feel like it's a conversation with the non-human, if that makes sense.
Mm.
So it's a
And
spirit.
so, I mean, it could be.
It's certainly a pattern.
No, not.
Right, no, it's certainly a pattern, but this kind of gets into the question of, like, is there emotion in mathematical notation or not?
Mm-hmm.
I'm not sure necessarily so, but I think that's because mathematical notation is more about the thing discovered, and I think part of the purpose of the contrivance is to get at it in a way that is not subject to kind of like normal emotive language.
Well, I'm not pushing back. I'm just trying to flush this out. So regular, let's say, text. When I read the Bible, God is love. There's can you do that? Is that there, that kind of thing in math and or music? Music, when you play it, it's experience, the notes, unless you can read it really well. Let's say you're like Beethoven or something, Mozart, and where you can feel what you're reading and then maybe put down what you're feeling. That's the impartation of emotion. And then with words like, my heart is elevated, and the mystics, it might read weird unless you've had the experience. And so I'm wondering what's in that. And because you were talking about are formulas, each formula a thing that you're calling to?
No, the formula. And this is why I think it's important. The formula is not the thing that you're calling to. The thing that you're calling to is there is a relationship in reality.
Okay.
And the formula is what you are using to call to that relationship. In the same way that you are using a religious icon to call to some deeper pattern in reality. Like, you're not supposed to worship the icon. That's idolatry. You're supposed to see through the icon. It's supposed to be illusion that discloses reality.
Okay. So what's on the other side of math?
What do you mean, on the other side of man?
No, math. I'm sorry.
Oh, on the other side of math.
If you look, okay.
Patterns of patterns.
Okay, so
like, if I'm talking about heat transfer specifically, then I'm looking at the patterns of how thermal energy is being transferred from one thing to another, and like how the conduction, convection, and radiation play out, like in a very deep technical mathematical sense. Like, what happens if I have a fin radiator? Like, how is that heat being transferred? And like, if you don't see heat in the sense of like you gain a new cone cell that lets you detect infrared radiation, but you learn to I can look at something and tell you what part's hot and what part isn't. And I can tell you like roughly what temperatures things are at because I understand the underlying mechanics of how that functions. And then I can use that understanding to inform. Does that make sense?
no, it is.
Okay.
Yes, and I'm wondering if either my thought isn't holding water, or I'm not expressing it right. But I'm always going for the woo. Like, I'm going for the ghost in the machine. Like, what is math talking to, or what is using math to express itself? Like, is math the language of sorrow?
Patterns
Yeah.
It's patterns of patterns. That's okay. So comments first. Olsen, his son gets emotional when he has to do a lot of mathematical notation at night before dessert. So fair enough.
Oh my gosh.
From Joy, manifestations of logi, that which is iconic as created representation of eternal logos, empirical natural sciences versus hypostatic saint relic iconographic depiction person epiphany. Yeah, and that's
definitely an compression.
yeah. And then Embrigate, mathematical notation seems like the removal of emotion by flattening naturally occurring patterns into limited language. Can you fully explain the water cycle through an engineering schematic? So it's not about fully explaining or not fully explaining. It's about creating a compressed understanding of a pattern in a way that you can then re-expand from that compression back into the whole thing.
Right. Gotcha.
Like you're not trying to contain the whole water cycle in an engineering schematic. Like the water cycle only fits within the water cycle or something bigger. But what you can do is you can describe simplified relationships that allow you to reconstruct the nature of the thing, of the whole thing, or at least to a degree of accuracy that allows you to do whatever it is that you're trying to accomplish with that information.
Okay.
But as Joy points out, the point of icons in a religious sense is more about persons. Like the stuff that I've been talking about with academics, that's much like lower levels of understandings in terms of connection with the divine and connection with reality. And when you start, like, there's certain things that can be better understood as persons, but there's certain things that are only understandable as persons that you cannot.
Would be the best, an example of that.
I mean, Jesus as a person. Like
Okay.
As a person representation
I like that,
of the divine.
So there's no mathematical representation of God.
Well, it's more that, okay, so Jesus as an icon in the way that we're talking about it here, how can I take what God wants us to be as people and compress it down in such a way where there is enough of a seed of that understanding that when I plant that seed, it can grow back into the whole thing.
Gotcha.
Does that make more sense?
Oh, yeah. No, it does. Yeah, it's... And so your beginning topic is how to have a non-idolatrous relationship with education?
More that... Okay, so how do you have a non-idolatrous relationship with education, and then how can you transpose that onto not having an idolatrous relationship with religious icons? Like, exact it back into religion.
We need to throw another level of iconic language into the discussion, because the hardcore Puritan accusation is that icon usage is idolatry. Full stop.
Yes.
And the Orthodox have always been like, absolutely not. No. From like the 10th century on, when you get Saint John of Damascus, I want to say, who gave the statement of, they make a distinction between worship and veneration.
Yes.
Which I think it's important to bring in here, where, and I think what's important is because veneration recognizes that if you contemplate, John the Baptist or Moses or something like that, it is a valid spiritual practice, recognizing they are a mediator through which you can then go beyond them to the ultimate object of worship.
Yep. But when you're engaging with that icon, you always have in mind that you are trying to strive for that ultimate.
Well, I think you can. I mean, by all means, this is not my tradition, so correct me if I'm wrong. But I think you can get lost in direct veneration of the thing at hand, because I think that practice is so carefully kind of like guarded that they're like, this is a legitimate window to direct your attention, because that will take you. It is a thing that points beyond itself to the truth.
Right.
There's no other way to engage with it except with it pointing to beyond itself.
Right. So there's a time where Moses is worthy of your full attention, and paying strict attention to Moses, done well, will point you beyond that to the ultimate truth. And so I guess the question is, what are our mathematical equations mediating?
Patterns,
which I think does get into
Patterns.
patterns, which then I think is where you get to the point and purpose of education. That's where you're like, well, why does this matter? And that's where you start to have a discussion of, this is what these enable us to do.
Yep. Well, but how much of the problems that we're having are a consequence of kids having the insight to ask that question, and then teachers either not having enough of a developed understanding to be able to answer it, or just like not having that relationship themselves with the thing that they're teaching. And so it's very much I don't know, and it doesn't matter, just put your head down and learn the material. Because I think there's definitely some risk with that too.
What's the flip side of that?
If everything's functioning properly, you have teachers who are almost begging for their students to ask, why does this matter? Because they can instantly give them an answer. They can express and explain, like, this is why this matters, and this is like, hey, I went out and I did XYZ things in my career before I became a teacher, and so you want to know why? Well, let me pull something up from what I used to do. Here's why.
Yeah, no, the teachers need to be tapped into the thing those equations mean.
Right. And break it down into something that's like nitty-gritty reality. And part of the problem with this too is you get so many instances where the education just needs to make the students aware of so much in such a short period of time. Like when I was platoon trainer for engineer basic officer leaders course in Missouri, it was just hilarious to me because I got tasked with because most of the teaching was done by other people who were like dedicated instructors for certain tasks and certain things, and they only called in the platoon trainers and some other people on staff to teach certain things for very limited subjects. But one of them that I got tagged with was vehicle maintenance, and the way that I led off the class was, okay, everybody, all the stuff that you've been learning is super important, but I'm telling you now that most of it is going to make up probably less than 5% of whatever it is that you're going to do in your career. What I'm going to teach you today is going to be about 20%, like if pretty much any unit, but especially if you're in a mech unit, 20% of your job is going to be dedicated to what I am going to cover in the next 4 hours. So please pay attention to it.
Did it work?
I think so. I hope so.
Yeah.
And part of the thing with that was that anybody who was a reservist, they had already been experiencing motor pool stuff, and so they understood what the importance of that was going to be. All of the active duty folks who hadn't had any experience with that yet, I think that I was able to convey the importance of it enough for them to realize, okay, we do need to really pay attention to this. But yeah, it was definitely. I would be curious to see what the uptake for that was.
Because I was thinking, an example I had.
Bless you.
I thought I had. If you wanted to teach math to kids, you get a fishbowl, and you fill it full of gumballs, and you tell the kids, "Now, I'm gonna give you guys one chance to figure out how many gumballs are in here." And if you do, you get the gumballs. Now, but now I'm going to teach you how to have the best guess.
Mhm.
That, to me, is what it makes education easy. Because then you have a target, you have something fun.
Well, and you're teaching
And
them in a way that, sorry,
no, that's exactly it. You got it. That's you teaching. Go ahead. No, I
you're,
like that.
you're, you're teaching them in a way that they can see that they're going to gain an advantage from the thing that you're teaching them.
Exactly. And not just, yeah. And if you say, kids, this is how life is. By the way, you need good English skills too. Okay. But if you do this, it's not so much you can rule the world, but you get to have your own gumballs. You know, you get to work. And Henry Ford turned education into a machine that made people good machines. Whereas when I asked you the question a while ago, what did education turn people into? I think, and I could be wrong, education back in the day turned them into critical thinkers. And I could be wrong, but I think
you're right.
okay, it developed almost on a spiritual level. You know, you learn great books, classics. I don't know. It seemed it's not like they. It's not that. What am I? Okay, it seemed like people who rise to the top, education back in the day, they had better jobs and they got paid better, but it seemed like they worked for it. They earned it, and they were also useful in the community in a very particular way. That was value, like a doctor. Not that they're valued now, but back in the day, there weren't a lot of them. They were valued and esteemed. They also had a certain. They weren't just insurance drones. And then priests. Like, I was Jewish. I didn't have much dealing with priests, but you could tell that they were different. In a good way. They understood something. You know, this thing called God. And it seemed like society functioned differently, and it was valuable. And there was nothing wrong with being a cog in the machine, but it usually is because you didn't want to learn, you couldn't, you didn't have the opportunity. And the education wasn't when my part of the neck of the woods, the Industrial Revolution made it so you didn't need an education to get a good job, to raise a family. And now I see education with the people doing the LLM, doing the AI. It is idolatry. And this is my opinion. The education, it's almost like a Frankenstein's monster thing. It's like you can't, and it's the race to do it, and the first one wins. And you are using a language that's math it seems, even that they know there are patterns, the hyper patterns, or how to put it, that either they are calling to us to do, or by us doing it, we're calling them. Square peg, square hole attracts square peg.
Mhm.
Or it's the square peg casting a square shadow, so you do whatever. And so when you said the ideology, because I think I like what Jonathan Pajot said, let's say LLMs aren't calling anything. They're just big magic 8 balls that they're really shiny and attractive. It doesn't matter that they're just giant 8 balls, because everyone's putting an idolatrous mindset towards it.
Mm.
So that, even though it's still just a piece of plastic that's spitting out a glowing screen, just giving you back not so much what you want to hear, but just giving you back.
No, that's what it is in a lot of cases.
Oh, okay. So there it is.
That's what the training data is doing to it, at least.
Okay, so getting back, I don't know if I made.
I'm trying to pick out like what you're trying to get at.
Yeah.
So
So what do you think I'm getting at? I'm trying to stay on track.
I've got a thing to throw in the mix here that's building off of what you're talking about with, especially let's say Henry Ford industrial.
Mm-hmm.
I think one of the things, because that is a education model that also fit into a new economic model that is becoming much more widespread. Yeah. And I think that the Henry Fordism, one of the things that did is our economy is predominantly manufacturing and factory work. We don't need people to be as fully developed as we used to be.
Yes, that's it. Yes, right.
That's a good point.
And so it really lowered the ceiling of what we, and so we stopped. Or
yes, that's exactly it. It's not about education. It's just, so for me, it's not the education was almost a spiritual thing.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if there's a philosophy out there towards that, but it's I don't think it's Gnosticism, but it's to know. It's what did Up say about math? Math exists, but mathematics was discovered. Because I can't read it.
Math is discovered. Notation is invented.
Okay.
So the specific ways that we write down mathematical formulas and equations, that is invented. There is a certain level of contrivance with that, although I would argue that it's less contrived than people might make it out or believe it to be.
It seems like. Mm-hmm.
Real quick, because it just ties in so well with what Skank just said. Embergate points out that literacy is a privilege that people don't appreciate because they think it's cheap to come by, and he's been triggered by inner bitterness and is coming back out of the lurk. Or going back to the lurk. Going back to the lurk.
Oh.
Oh.
But yeah, no, yeah. Because it's everyone is literate pretty much, at least in America, we do not appreciate the benefits that come from having a society where you can rely on everyone in that society being literate.
Great. And also there's levels of sophistication regarding it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's not just can you read or not. There's a reason we have grade reading levels and other things like that.
I just had a talking with David Garner of OG Rose recently, and he kind of introduced me to a mode of he's trying to get us zine authors to aspire to a higher level of a literacy. Effectively, is what our conversation.
Okay.
He's directing toward this book that I've been learning a lot about, and it's super interesting. And he's part of one of the things that's going to happen is you're gonna as your taste develops and your taste is going to develop before your skill, you're going to get really frustrated with a lot of things
Yep.
Once you have more height and critical quality.
Yeah, but that means you're in a good spot though. It is definitely frustrating to have your taste outpace your skill to produce the quality that your taste is demanding from you. But that means that you have room to grow and you have a direction to grow in.
Yeah.
Like, it's a way worse problem to be stuck where you know that there are things beyond where you are currently, but you don't know what direction to try and move in order to find those.
I think it's a different kind of like expression of like blacksmiths. I think it's not hypocrisy. Where if you're not a hypocrite, that's because you're aspirational.
Yep. Yeah. Aim higher. Stop being a slacker.
Now you tell me.
Only what, 50 years too late?
Well, let me do some math here. Yeah, that's about right.
That's about right. Right decade at least.
Yeah, no, we're there. Yeah, 50 would be good. That would have been. I could have been somebody. That or else I would have been a mad scientist. I would have needed Jesus. Oh, seriously.
Right. Everyone brace
There we
yourselves.
go.
We're about to have
I'll,
a blizzard. In game.
No, I think it's good that I'm at where I'm at, because now it's like if I think once you're at a certain age, if you gain a lot of power, you're like, whatever. I got to go mow the lawn, you know, or I'm going to have a beer. See you later. I do like this conversation. It's kind of fun because it's the idolatry. What comes to my mind is the children of Israel got out of Egypt and they were whining, the leeks in the pots in Egypt were so good. And God's like, really? Here's some snakes to straighten you out. They start getting bit. And then they whine to Moses. Moses goes to God. God goes, make a serpent, brass serpent, put it on a pole. They'll look at it. They'll get healed. Mm-hmm. They get healed and they stop their whining. However, later on, I believe that same serpent later on gets worshipped. Not real quick, but eventually they're like, being the children of Israel that they are, we love us an icon, not in a good way.
Let's make it into an idol. Wait, don't.
Yeah, pretty much. So education in some way, with not being idolatrous, so what are you worshiping? What's the God behind it? It's either a good God or a demon. Mm-hmm. So when is idolatry not idolatry? When it's
more
proper.
How do you make sure that you don't let iconography slip into idolatry?
How do you make idolatry not slip
how do you not let iconography slip into idolatry?
All right. Now, are we talking about religious? What's that?
Were you saying something, Skink?
I think the danger is just part of the field.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Yeah. What comes to my mind, the one thing being, because being Protestant, in the past, I was really not an icon guy at all. I'm like a good Protestant. And then I've come to really like the Eucharist. Mm-hmm. And here, this was the turning point for me when it went from a cracker to something that's not a cracker. Because in the book of Galatians, Paul says, some of you take this thing unworthily, some of you are sick, and some of you sleep, which means you're dead. So the question came in my head, how can a cracker kill you, make you sick or crack you? Or sick or kill you? If the answer is, when a cracker isn't a cracker. And and it reminded me, the first thing that came to my mind was like a copper wire in your house. Copper wire is copper wire until it's hooked up to, the power grid. So that, for me, that meant the cracker was hooked up to the power grid of something. And I'm like, okay, that's God. And then the whole notion of transubstantiation, it doesn't flip me out. So then it didn't become an icon of idolatry to venerate a cracker, because we live in a universe where something can be two things at one time. It can be a cracker and God, which I'm still wrestling with, but at least I can have a conversation without breaking into a rash.
So, and I haven't talked about this yet, so that's actually a really good segue. The way that I would relate to that is just to like actually be okay with saying I don't know.
Okay.
Like I like understand when you don't understand, and be willing to maybe like, because I understand that there are some like confessional things to go along with that, and you can't just like if you want to participate in certain things, you have to like say and believe when you say that XYZ is true. But I think that there's also a level of like when I'm trying to learn something more like academic, you kind of get a sense after a while of when you actually have an understanding of the thing that you're trying to understand versus when you have something that is not quite there. Like it's on the way there, but it's not quite there yet. And so the way that you're describing what you're describing, that the understanding that you're describing, it sounds like you have an understanding that's on the way, but it's not quite there yet. And so how do you then leave room open in your belief system, in the structure of how you understand reality? Leave that room open so that way, if and when something new comes in to change or deepen the understanding that you have of the Eucharist as a sacrament, that can actually come in, rather than keeping a sort of fundamentalist relationship with it of, no, this is what I have been told, this is what I have believed, and so that this is what it is, this is what it must be. But instead recognizing when maybe you don't have all the answers, you don't have all the cards, and leaving that as an open question for yourself, so that way you have the capacity to receive additional information when it presents itself.
I wonder if that's on God to do, because really, and I'm not trying to cop out, but I think, okay, one, because I've had experiences with God, that leaves me the window of opportunity open. Like, all right, if he wants to make, he made his kid out of a virgin. He wants to show up in a cracker. Well, okay, he's God. You know, I mean, that's actually my attitude. Like, all right, it's, so that's the space. And I wonder if it's, or if maybe it can also come to scripture or education, for whatever space you want to make open. It starts with either an experience that gets defined later on, or maybe an education that opens the opportunity mentally for the experience. That's the two that come to my mind for keeping space open.
Well, there's also a danger of like an open mind is like a castle with its gates open and unguarded.
No, that's why we have the magisterium. Oh wait, I'm not Catholic. Dang it. Oh, we have PPK on the crew.
Geez, if only Mark hung out here, he would hear us talking ourselves into Catholicism all day long.
But honestly, yeah, you're right. I get you. You got to watch out what you put in to your head. But again, that's
Well, and importantly,
think-
it's maybe important to watch what you let other people put into their own heads. But
True.
it gets so dicey. It gets so dicey so quickly.
Well, I mean, I don't know. You can't freak. You gotta, you're starting from the water that you swim in. And so if it's funky water or poison, you think it might be bad teaching, or you can at least quarantine it and go, this may be heresy. And start from there. Like, I've been there for the past 5 years. I won't go totally into it, but I've had something spiritual that happened, and it was good, but it was also paradigm breaking, maybe. And I'm like, oh, I'm about to get thrown out of church. But you put it in quarantine, and then you test it for a good long time, and then if you get a green light, you're like, okay. Well, it's like the blind guy who got healed by Jesus. Like, the Pharisees were grilling him. He goes, I don't know who did it. All I know is I was blind. Now I'm not.
Did you miss the blind part? I couldn't see him.
How can I give you a description? Also, howdy, Mark. Welcome to the stream.
Hey, I was summoned. No,
Skank over here talking shit.
I was. Are you guys paying attention to the chat?
A little bit, yeah. I was trying to find a place to bring in what you had asked earlier, because I know Skank taught middle school. I taught my my cohort a lot when I was going through high school and college, but I haven't, as an older adult, gone back and taught kids math. So,
yeah.
Skank, well, you were an English teacher?
I mean, yeah, like humanities stuff.
Okay.
Bible at a Christian school, but that involves a lot of writing and history and
Okay.
sort of a little bit of everything on the humanities side of it. And my mom teaches high school math, so I talked to a math teacher about teaching a lot.
And then also I saw, Mark, that you're going to be doing Ups's TLC exit interview. I'll be very
this is
curious to
news.
watch
This
that.
is all news to me. This is news to me. So I'm kind of dealing with the emotional impact of that news. So see, I don't know what that's about. So it'll be an interesting interview. Maybe sad.
Yeah.
I suspect he'll still be around a little bit. I don't.
I hope.
It's really hard to leave this place, I think.
Well, I mean, is it because have people been inappropriate? I
don't think so. I think because I've talked with him a little bit about some of this. It's not a complete surprise to me, but it's, I think, more frustration of, like, he is hoping to see certain things develop from the community that is TLC, and he's not seeing that. And it's not so much that he doesn't want to waste his time with it, but Ups, if I'm putting words in your mouth, please correct me.
Well, this is what the interview will be about, I guess, right?
Yeah.
So, yeah.
But just
I'm
just
sending him an email now.
Mm-hmm.
Pay attention to email, Ups, and we'll set it up. So, yeah. Wow. Yeah. So what makes you, so many questions here in the conversation. We can talk about the idolatry of education, which I'm not sure I quite agree, but that would be like, I mean, like, education of the masses is really a very late modern phenomenon. I mean, even as late as World War I, majority of recruits weren't high school graduates. So, I mean, and weren't the boomers of the 60s the statistically the best educated generation America ever produced?
Best educated or most educated?
Well, best in terms of just having well, the schools were arguably better, but they were certainly they produced the most college graduates, at least up to that point.
Well, there you go. That's your like educated to what end? Graduate
You
college.
had the most high school graduates, the most, but see, a high school graduation in 1960 really meant something still. So, and then some people argued that think that the establishment found they had so many problems on the college campuses with this educated, privileged elite who were no longer elite, but now the masses in a sense, because there were so many of them. They may not have been a majority, but they were certainly close. They found that what we need to do is undermine the quality of a liberal arts education, so that they won't be quite so uppity. I've heard that argument put forward. I don't know if it's right or not, but I mean, I'm just thinking
another psyop over here.
Say what?
Always room for another psyop over here.
Always room for another psyop. Yeah, there you go. Yeah, who knows? But we did go. I mean, it's just the quality of education just got a lot more expensive right after the 60s. So there's a huge disincentive right there. And now the return on investment, of course, is now the big hit. It's not only expensive; it's no longer offering a reliable return on investment.
You're better off going into a trade in order to maximize the income over your life, rather than going and spending 4 years at college and then like not even necessarily getting a job that money-wise competes with that trade job.
Right. Certainly for liberal arts educations.
Yep.
You know, I mean, your standard, your English major, your history major, your sociology major, psychology, all these people are struggling to find employment, at least at the undergraduate level. Yeah. Science and math still pays. Computer science seems to be under threat. We're not sure if that's what the future is there yet, but because of obvious reasons. So. But is it an idol? Where's that coming from, Ron?
Oh, I'd have to go Sodom and Gomorrah for 200.
They weren't literate.
And the question is always, what is it oriented towards?
True.
And if it's oriented towards good career, good job, stuff like that, those are all mere life causes. That's not necessarily the inherent good of the student. Like, how do you formulate an education program or an education department that's oriented towards the true good of the student? Like, that's the kind of spiritual goal that you would need to, like, ultimately evade idolatry.
What if once we get through this early stage LLM, right, we move on to truly sophisticated AI. I mean, it's what we've got already. It's already pretty good, but now take it out 20 years. What if it helps? I can imagine it resulting in the democratization of higher education.
Great, but I don't like 20 years of broken eggs to make that omelet.
But it's not all broken eggs all the way. It just takes it. I'm being conservative with the 20 years. I mean, because we don't even know what it's going to look like in 2, right? So, what would be the broken eggs?
I would just like to know where the political mechanisms are for forcing the folks that are going to do well off of this arrangement to actually share that wealth with the folks that are not.
So I'll give you some broken eggs, Mark. A lot of tech CTOs are looking at laying off as many of their people as possible and basically just having AI facilitators do their thing and like facilitate the AI to write all the code for those tech companies. And I couldn't find it. I was looking for it because I wanted to post this tweet as a reply to another tweet. There was somebody who made the really good comment of, man, I really wish I wasn't as ethical of a person as I am, because black hat hackers are going to make a freaking fortune over the next decade. Because there's going to be so much bad code written by AI that is being used for security purposes. Like, we've already seen this for a couple of things. There was one, what was it? It was like rate the people that you date app. Like, women in a city could establish profiles of men that they were dating, and then like let other women know, hey, this guy's a fuckboy, you don't mess with him. Except that they vibe coded their whole thing, and somebody found a security vulnerability and pulled out all of the account information for all these people, and they were using like driver's licenses to do verification. And I don't know if there were any like slander or libel lawsuits that came out of that, but like there's just like, take that and then put it on something like healthcare information and the vulnerabilities that it's going to potentially open up for something like that, or even something more critical like energy infrastructure or banking infrastructure. Like,
sure, no, I get it. But those tools are just as available for well-intended people as they are for bad actors.
Right, but what I'm saying is the tools themselves are not well developed enough to actually produce good content consistently.
Right. No, right. I agree. Not yet.
Well, and I don't think that they're
and
going to.
Bad actors have a certain kind of momentum that good does not, generally speaking, in the world we live in.
Whose fault is that?
Adam and Eve.
Yeah. Well, I mean, what is it? What's the line from? Was it Churchill who said something about good men doing nothing?
When good
I don't
men do nothing, bad men.
Nice sentiment, but I mean, you need those good men, and you also need people with the tools requisite to be able to kind of rein in the situation.
Well, Rick Beato did a whole thing where you guys all know Rick Beato, right? The music teacher guy with the Monster Channel. Yeah. Mm-hmm. He did a tutorial basically on how to download on your local Mac Mini or whatever an LLM that run independent of the big guys. Mm-hmm. and he set it up in 5 minutes and was walking everybody through it, and he's explaining it's the power of this is this tool just on your own machine, he pointed out it wasn't the biggest but also wasn't the smallest, and it's working all this magic. And I think he did a 30-minute video on it or something. And I could just imagine these things just... you're going to get as much bad... I mean, I can imagine you getting as much good out of it as much bad. And the question is the government and the state going to be prepared to deal with the bad? How many of the bad actors, of course, are in the government? Of course, mm-hmm. This is the big problem we have right now, right? That seems like the worst actors are actually at the top of the hierarchy. So to deal with Skankenstein's concerns, it seems to me like you're going to have to, find a way to constrain the guys at the top. And nobody likes that. Nobody wants constraints.
Well, can you constrain people at the top? Like, is that even something that's possible?
It's probably more possible than we think. It's just the question of how many eggs you want to break. And it's going to be young people. What is it? In other parts of the world, earlier in this year or late last year, we had the Gen Z revolution all around all these countries not here, but elsewhere, where young people were coming out and raising Cain. I mean, the South Koreans overthrew an attempted or stopped an attempted coup and reinstated their democracy. That's pretty impressive, and they're supposed to be a dying culture, right? Everyone's saying they're depopulating themselves. Well, they actually saved the democracy, so that's if they can do it. We can. We just have to have the willingness to do it.
There's a lot of really weird stuff with that specific example, though, and stuff that does not get covered by Western media.
Like what?
That a big part of the scandal there was that there, I can't remember the term, but it was like there was this weird corrupt matriarchal thing going on, and that was like, yeah, I don't want to speak too much more on it, but yeah.
I'm not very informed on it either. I just remember bits and pieces.
Yep. Yeah. No, it is so hard to be able to actually understand what's going on in the world, though, because of how poisoned so much of the information that comes to us is, both in terms of like what the information itself is saying, and then also everything that gets left out that ought to be included but isn't. It's really, really hard to actually say what's going on in the world.
True.
Like the Strait of Hormuz situation, trying to peek through the propaganda layers and figure out what is it that's actually being done. Like, yeah, it's...
What do you think?
Well, first of all, I think I don't know enough to really be able to think, but what I see and think that I am willing to speak on. I mean, it's very clear to me that Iran is way more of a contender than pretty much anyone gave them credit for, and especially in terms of the economics of the conflict, that they're able to send and use very cheap drones and take out very expensive things with very cheap drones. And the fact that they seem to either be continuing to produce said drones or have a large enough stockpile that's well hidden enough that they're able to continue sending more missions out. Like the American military-industrial complex strategy of we'll just have bigger, better, more expensive toys and we can take down anything that they throw up at us only works when the enemy is trying to match us plane for plane. It doesn't work when the enemy has cheap drones that they can just mass swarm, and it doesn't matter if 100 drones fail their mission. If only one of them gets through, that's all they need.
Mm-hmm. Right. Well, that's all pretty mainstream. That's a pretty mainstream observation from the sources I generally read. I think everything I've read that I find to be reliable would agree with you.
Mm-hmm.
So the information's out there.
It is, but how many sources are either thumping like Israel is going to take care of all of these guys and they don't stand a chance, versus people thumping for Iran and saying that they're going to destroy Israel and there's nothing that Israel can do about it. Like, trying to realize that there's propaganda being fed.
Sure.
And that you have to, like, you can't just rely on any one source, and that, like, you you have to read what the other side is saying, and you have to do so in a way that you don't just automatically believe what it is that they have to say.
Sure. Yeah, no question.
And back to the original topic. You always got to ask what end? Oh, no, I'm like still like trying to direct it, but like the question we're talking about is like, what is the new? What like end is the news trying to mediate you towards?
Yep.
And that's something that's hidden. That's a black box. You don't know.
No.
And what the intentions that are serving their story selection are necessarily.
Does their intention matter that much?
Yes.
If the information, if the information they're giving us is good, and you have other sources, because there's not a singular entity that we can actually call the media. There's not a the media perspective. Now there are media giants, right? This monstrosity that the Ellisons are putting together, right? That is a super mega. I think they're ultimately, the hope is they're going to own CNN and Paramount and all this other stuff, right? It's cable channels and everything else. So yeah, there'll be these enormous there are these behemoths out there that will theoretically represent a view, but that doesn't mean they are eliminating all competition. And I don't know, I go online and I find a lot of diversity of opinion. So I can't say that there is a collective media directing the narrative.
So it doesn't.
Do you hear what I'm saying?
I do. It doesn't have to be like a centralized authority that's directing it, though. There's I don't remember the term, but basically this notion of coinciding interests of multiple groups bringing people together without them having to coordinate separately. And yeah, this is Mark. Howdy, Luke, out in the chat.
What do you think, Skank?
What's that?
What do you think? What do you see? I mean, do you see
I
a unified media voice? Say again?
I don't watch the news. Waste of time, man.
That way he makes sure that he's better informed.
Where do you get your information? No, where do you get your information about events? You just ignore it completely?
Oh, no, I got better things to do, man. I'm not getting conscripted.
How do you know that? Well, you're old. You're too old to conscript. Yeah.
I mean, like what? Again, most of it is like, what is the need for me to know? Like, what am I expected to? What is my increase in knowledge expected to participate to this situation? Like, they're not going to ask me about like my opinion on like what is going on in Iran. I guess if I need to predict the future, that might be important, but I don't think I can do that either.
Why? Well, I think you could make an argument that there's a benefit to being an informed citizen. That was certainly Jefferson's point of view.
Sure. But informed about
well.
That's the
They
problem.
believe
Like, we're in a world of information overload.
Yep.
You live in a different world from Jefferson and Adams. And so, yeah, no, their instincts are good, but they are dealing with a much more parched media landscape than we are. And so they're dealing with like lack of information, where you could be a fully informed citizen more or less in their day and age. Versus here, like today, that's impossible.
Well, and even back then, Jefferson had some words about the media of their time.
Mm-hmm.
So this is not a new problem by any means.
I would say they would have wished for our ability to know their enemy, as well as have as much access to information as we do about their enemy. Because shortly after the revolution, I think the Constitution was only a couple of years old. The Americans are flooding over the Appalachians, right? And into particularly what they called the Northwest then, now that it's our Midwest, right? Indiana, Ohio, so on.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, they flooded in and found themselves in an 8 or 10 year war with an Indian confederation that delivered to the American army its worst defeat, I think, in the history. As a proportion of the army, it destroyed something like 25% of the army. And it ignorance, they because they took for granted, they like we are doing now, they took for granted the quality of their enemy, and they thought that they were dealing with savages. It turns out they weren't. And there's a benefit to knowing, even if you don't. I think there's a benefit to knowing for knowing's sake.
Yeah.
Because you don't know what information is useful until it is, much of the time in life. So,
Oh yeah,
yeah,
no,
I mean,
there's just 1,000 things to know, and I'm not intimately involved in the realms or arenas where me having intimate knowledge of that area would be helpful at all.
Well, and the other thing that I think is important to consider with this stuff is that most communication is designed to, like, I'm speaking because I want to achieve an effect in another person. And so it's very dangerous to be actively listening into news media folks when you don't understand what their intent is there. Because it's very, very easy then for them, like, if you're not aware of what it is that they're trying to slip past you, then it's very easy for them to slip past it.
Don't you think they telegraph their intentions much of the time? If you pay attention?
There's layers to it, though. That's the problem. Like, yes, you can catch the first layer, the second layer, the third layer, but, like, there's, like, how much like passive hypnosis type stuff is filtering through, like how, like, using hypnotic techniques in terms of the way that headlines are being structured. Like, there's a really good book that I've been reading by a guy who goes by Doc Hypnosis on Twitter, and basically the title of the book is Demonetize Your Mind, and a big part of it is just understanding that a lot of the media landscape right now is specifically structured to try and get you to be engagement farmed, so that way they can make money off of you participate or engaging with whatever the content is, because they get money based off of, like, click-through rates. They don't really care necessarily what effect it's going to have on you mentally, and in fact there's plenty of times where they will specifically put in headlines because they want behavior from their readers to be pushed in a certain direction. And so they have that. Good night, Ups, and good night, or good night, Ron.
Yep.
Not Ups isn't going, Ron's going. Have a good night, Ron.
Okay. Okay, I'm
Now,
not
Ron.
Good night, guys.
Bit. So you get into this situation where you are trying to fight an information fight against an adversary who has way more advantages than you do, in terms of, because it's not just trying to be informed, it's trying to not let the media change your likely behavior with the things that they're saying to you and to everyone on broadcast.
Mm-hmm. You need to know your center. You need to know your values, what you're about.
But you also need to know their intent. What is it that they are trying to get you to do by communicating with you?
Possibly. There's. Are you guys Civil War fans? I know.
I'm against the Civil War, for the record. I think it was
I'm talking about as a history. Are you the history
History
of the
buff.
Civil War, the American Civil War? I wasn't saying
Not-
for it as a.
right. Yeah, I know. Yeah.
It was a grand old time.
Not especially, which honestly probably is something that is a great irritation to any like left coast Civil War buffs, because I grew up in and around thousands of Civil War monuments. My parents lived about 10 miles up the road from Stonewall Jackson's severed left arm.
Okay.
So,
There's a great line from Sherman. You know, Sherman and Grant were buddies in the West early in the first 2/3 of the war, I guess. Really, well, they were close throughout, but they worked side by side, and especially in those early days. And you know, Sherman, they basically had to pull Sherman out of an insane asylum to put him back in the field. He had kind of gone crazy, and he said one of the Grant's strengths was that he didn't worry about the enemy that was not within his field of vision. Well, they kept him up all night, right? I mean, they all he did was worry about the enemy. Grant's great virtue as a general was that he really didn't. He was very object driven. He understood the essentials of the ground. He was working in the strategy and tactics required to reach his objectives. And then whatever obstacles came to him, he dealt with as they came. And obviously had good instincts on how not to overstress his supply lines and so on and so forth. But that was Grant's magic, is he didn't care. And Sherman said caring made him crazy, essentially. Mm-hmm. So it's an interesting lesson. I don't know which, but Grant was smart enough to have a Sherman right next to him, right? Sherman was his right arm through most of the war. Mm-hmm. So it's good to have a warrior. On the other hand, the warrior is probably not the best top executive. Even if you think of these as personalities within your own mind, right? You kind of, I could kind of imagine having a little Sherman working in the background, but keeping my Ulysses Grant in the executive role of my brain. What do you guys think of that? I'm winging it here. I don't know what I'm talking about.
the right thought. Yeah, no, there's definitely like a wisdom to shifting your mental mode of approach depending on the task. And recognizing that like one avenue of approach that is the wisest, the most prudent choice of action in one particular field can absolutely destroy you when it's transposed to a different field.
Very well said.
And I'm naturally a very, very curious person, so if I get interested in the wrong thing that has an endless black hole of information, like, it will leave me alive. So like,
sure.
I make a point of sort of trying to maintain cognitive protections of myself, because I mean, it's getting to the point where I have to like be really when I look at my bookshelf, like I get struck with a wave of like a deep sense of my own mortality, just recognizing I'm not gonna have time to read all of the things that I've collected. I'm gonna have to decide, which one of these things I'm gonna use, because it's about how you deploy.
Yeah. No, you're right.
Time is one of our most constrained resources. Mark Matzi wants to know what you think about him making a comparison that Sherman Grant is a real-life Sherlock Watson. Original bro road trip
That's not
movie.
bad. They are. If it wasn't for so much violence in the what was it, the March to the Sea,
Mhm.
burning of Atlanta,
There's a
and
lot of
all
work
that.
for the cops. Violence inherent in the system there too. Metro Police.
It's just a
ACAB,
little.
Sherlock Holmes, ACAB.
Oh my gosh. Shay out here.
I don't see it playing well in Georgia. That's all I'm saying.
No.
It's a good movie, but it wouldn't play well in the south of the Mason-Dixon.
Particularly not in Georgia. I think there's still
Georgia, South Carolina.
some memory
I think
there.
South Carolina got it worse. Yeah. Sherman was a character.
That's one way to put it, I guess.
War criminal is the way to put it.
Well, he was. It is really interesting though that the burning of Atlanta didn't occur until they discovered Andersonville. Andersonville, if you don't know, was a prisoner of war camp theoretically, but it was essentially a death camp. And the photos that come out of that are straight out of you. You can't tell the difference between the photos of the men who were the survivors of Andersonville to anything out of Auschwitz. It's amazing, or the Japanese camps as well that they maintained in the Philippines and elsewhere. So these walking bags of bones, and I think I don't think it's not original to me, but it's a lot of historians will say that Atlanta probably wouldn't have suffered as it did had they not discovered Andersonville at or around the same time they took control of it. So, and burned it.
Yeah. Interesting.
I mean, these scenes and those. If you read some of the material that comes out, the diaries and whatnot, or testimonies of American soldiers who encountered the Nazi camps, the fury they felt, and we had and of course we know what the Russians did in response to their experience with the Nazis. So I think the only reason the Americans didn't do likewise or do a repeat of what Sherman's March to the Sea is we had a better handle on our troops, so we had better discipline.
Yeah, it is really hard. Having been in the military, there's a lot of things about the military that anybody who has not experienced it directly firsthand is just not going to understand. And
right, you know about that.
Yeah, but it's to the point where it's like, yeah, I can say things verbally. I can use my propositions, but unless you actually experience it, embody it, the way that pressure is exerted within the organization on individuals, you have to experience it and understand it. Yeah, I'm out, Matt. I did not even consider doing reserves, so.
Yeah, it's hard to judge people who've been through those experiences. It's what we want is for it just to end, right? It's like the current war. It's just end it. Let's just stop. Yes, all of our noses are bloody. Let's lay it down. Let's just calm down. Find a way to move forward.
Too much pride and ego on the line for all sorts of folks to do that.
Exactly. Yeah, because there's like the current war. I can't see a winning scenario. And I'm not an expert by a long shot, but I don't see.
Keep reading those news
I
reports. I'm sure you'll get there someday, man.
I don't know. I don't know if that. I'm looking for someone who actually acts like they know something, you know,
Well,
and
not just acts
is showing
like,
some judgment.
There's plenty of people who act like they know something. The question is whether there's people who actually know things.
That's what I said. I thought I said actually. Maybe
Oh, yeah,
it
yeah,
can't
okay.
sound like that. Yeah, yeah. No, it's. Well, the thing is, I was reading. This is the benefit of reading articles on stuff that doesn't have any relevance to my immediate life. We've purged quite a few of our leading generals. And it's not quite reached. I mean, it's not Stalinistic levels, you know, whereas we're not just purging our officer corps and shooting them, but we have done quite a bit of damage to our officer corps, and the argument is that, well, we're not doing DEI anymore, and so this is the rationale for it, but.
I don't think there's even
This
been
is
that
the
much
worst.
of a push
This
on
is the
that,
worst.
honestly.
Say what?
I don't think there's even been that much of a push on that. I think that was a whole lot of talk and not a lot of action. Like maybe some token firings, but in terms of like actual change or movement, in terms of the overall direction and tenor of the generals, like Hexeth is temporary.
I know.
He'll be out soon enough.
Yeah.
We don't have to worry about him for forever.
Well, it's just
That's
who
the
they're
attitude.
getting rid of. We just fired the highest ranking general in the army, right? The commander of the army, just chief of the army chief of staff. We just fired him, and there have been multiples of these, and it's just, and you got to wonder if they've done damage to other parts of the government, and you just got to wonder if this performance. This is the worst performing our military. I mean, this situation, this war. I don't know. I could compare it to how we.
What makes you say that?
Well, I compare it to how well we did in Iraq, but that took a year of building up. It was a completely different approach to the war. We also, like, you can't tell me no one didn't know the Strait of Hormuz was going to be a problem.
Oh, I'm sure there were people who did. I just don't think that they were probably listened to.
Yeah. And well, yeah. And then what happened to the people who did tell them, right? It's just the preparation. It's so weird. It's like watching a different army.
Well, the army hasn't even really been involved with anything yet. The only
Well,
thing that has been
military.
going on is
You're
just
right.
the
No,
Navy.
I meant military. I meant
okay.
military. Yeah.
Okay. It's just been a naval operation and Air Force so far.
Yeah. You have to go back to Korea. We're not quite in the situation of the Korean War, right? Where we're pushed all the way down to the edge of the peninsula, right? But I can imagine a situation where they've got what, 50,000 Marines and Army Rangers in the region now, and were they to land them in a place like Clark Island or something, I could imagine a repeat of or they're just ducks in a bucket, or in a pond getting shot. I mean, it's I don't know. It's this thing could go either way, because the American military is extremely impressive. There's no question about it. But we, as you mentioned, we aren't outmatched, but we certainly aren't prepared for the kind of resistance that we're facing. And you just got to wonder, how did we end up in a situation where, I mean, remember, Saddam Hussein was supposed to be, Iraq was like the 6th largest army in the world. It was going to be this very difficult, impenetrable sort of military that was going, the next Vietnam, people were predicting, right? All the talking heads. Well, you guys weren't alive in 1991, probably. So
No, I was not.
I remember all that vividly, and I remember we pounded them for a long time by the air while we were moving into place. I don't know, 250,000 troops, and we had the cooperation of our allies. Bush 1 was a master diplomat. He basically brought all of NATO and others to bear. It was practically a UN operation, almost. It was astonishing. And
so two questions.
What?
How much, like, where is all this information sourced from? And then, why do you have so much trust in the truth of all of it?
Well, we know it happened. We just failed. We lost that war, the occupation, because we decided to occupy. We know it happened.
I'm asking you an epistemological question.
An epistemological question. Why does that? What is it? What?
How do you know what you know?
Okay, so is Artemis not? Is that a fake picture? Is that like a? Is you want me to answer? Like, are we going to go through the whole did man land on the moon kind of thing? Is that
no? I mean, there's epistemology for the man landing on the moon thing. Like, I think that I'm a little bit partial to the idea that that the broadcast that we put out was not actually what happened. That we actually did go to the moon, but the thing that was shot and put out onto people's televisions was actually on a stage. I'm partial to that. I don't know if that's what happened. We may very well have just been broadcasting what was on the moon. Don't know. But that's part of it, is like, I know that I can't know that. Because I don't have the direct, first-hand, experiential knowledge to know that.
What else in your life do you not have first-hand knowledge of?
Pretty much everything that's going on right now in the Middle East.
Okay.
I have third-hand knowledge from a whole bunch of sources, and I don't think any of the sources that I'm drawing information from speak Farsi. So as far as like the only information that I'm really getting from Iran proper is being filtered through either Iranian propagandists who speak English well enough to produce propaganda to be broadcasting onto English channels, or people who are in government with their own motivations and intentions who are ostensibly translating and then informing us of what is being said by Iran. But in terms of my ability to independently verify that, I don't speak Farsi.
Okay,
I can't go...
Back up.
Okay.
I'm a little confused. Because I was talking about the old war. So I mean,
Great.
what was
my point. I was just pulling
you
from
on that. I was just talking about the history. I was just talking about my experience of that.
Right.
Well, that for me is recent history, right? That's for you. It's beyond your lifetime. But for me, I actually remember reading the newspapers and.
But
all
when
that.
you're speaking about it, you're speaking it like. There's a difference.
I'm trying to summarize kind of old memories. It's been a long time since I've.
But the point that I'm trying to make is that
I just remember it was impressive.
Those are memories of what you were informed of by other people, third hand. That's what I'm trying to make the point of. Is that
pre-internet, really?
Yeah, but there's a story that you are articulating that is not your story. It is you recapitulating a story that was conveyed to you. That's what I'm trying to make the point of.
Okay, yes and no, because I actually knew people who were there.
Okay.
Actually, some actually were family. So, I have no reason to distrust that summary, that really horrible summary I gave you, it's not very, it's very imprecise. It's lacking in specifics, all that sort of thing. I mean, we could drill
there's time
down and
constraints
read
there
up
too.
on it. Yeah. I mean, but for the sake of conversation, I think I think the histories that have been written on it regarding how the alliances were made, the diplomacy in the background, the time it took in the build-up. I just recently saw, what was it? So former, I don't remember what her role was. Rice, what office she held. Condoleezza Rice. I don't remember what.
Wasn't she?
Defense Secretary.
Say what?
I think.
Was
National
it Defense
Secretary,
Secretary?
wasn't she?
Oh,
No, she wasn't
NSCI.
secretary. Yeah, net security.
Yeah, in that administration, I think she was. Yeah, she had become Secretary of State or something in the second Bush administration, right? Something like that. But in that war, she was there, but she was recapping in the interview how different the preparation for the current war was from the war that they fought against Saddam Hussein in in response to the Kuwaiti invasion, right? And in fact, we didn't go after, we didn't overthrow the Iraqi regime in that war, right? That wasn't until after 9/11. So it's just while both wars were impressively fought initially, the Bush Senior's war was a success in every way except that it didn't result in regime change, right? But it obtained all the objectives. Now, at least all the stated objectives, and epistemologically, I guess you then have to say, well, is any of that history accurate? And I don't, without going into an all-day seminar on the subject, I don't know how we would answer your question.
Well,
I mean, say, how do you? I mean, was Napoleon really defeated at Waterloo? I mean, how do you prove it?
I mean, you can be pretty certain that probably did happen. Like there's certain things that, based off of the concurrence of a whole bunch of different sources that have different motivations, you can pretty authoritatively say, okay, yeah, that probably happened. There's enough reference points that point to that happening that I can take that on faith pretty well. But you also have to keep in mind that there's stories, there's narratives that are created around those kinds of events, and the validity and the truth of those stories, that's something that is a lot more up to question.
Well, stories are, what would you say? The stories are the narratives that are imposed upon the facts. But we do have facts.
Yes.
Saddam Hussein invaded Kuwait. He occupied Kuwait, and he threatened, and the fears were that he was going to move into Saudi Arabia. So
was that a good thing or a bad thing?
I don't know.
And that's
go ahead, Sam.
That's what I'm trying to talk about with
the
like
record
the narratives.
Of a fear of a thing, a fact.
I think that those are all pretty, like, there's contested and uncontested things. I think that those, like everything that you just said, Mark, those are uncontested enough that we can rely on them. Like they're not bedrock.
Napoleon lost Waterloo, right?
Yep.
Can we? Okay, that's that kind of fact. It's.
Yep.
Okay.
But then the narratives that we spin around that of like,
good
was it the Civil War or was it the War of Northern Aggression? Like.
Yeah. Sure. Yeah, I get that.
And that's the difficulty with, like, whenever you are consuming news media, nobody it costs something to produce it, and like they are still able to recoup some of that cost. But honestly, the bigger value for owning a news media corporation is your capacity to influence the hearts and minds of the people that are consuming that media. That's why Jeff Bezos bought what was it, the Washington Post. It's not because he thought it was a good investment in terms of pure monetary value, but it is almost infinitely valuable in terms of its ability to manipulate people. And so anytime that they are going to be conveying facts to you, they are also conveying intent. They are conveying the sort of moral way that you should be thinking about the thing in addition to the fact. And
as even Chomsky would say, the now infamous Noam Chomsky.
Now infamous, yes, very infamous. Yeah.
Anyways, the manufacturing of consent.
Mm-hmm.
What that has to do with linguistics is still not clear to me, by the way.
What's not clear?
Well, that's his linguistics theories
what
and all that.
Manufacturing consent has to do with his expertise in linguistics is unclear to me.
Well, that's a mystery to us all. Why he became, he's extremely articulate, and I guess he had a great mind, and politics was his hobby, and linguistics was his career, and somewhere along the line the two flipped, right? And so his career became his hobby, and his hobby became his career.
He placed as much formal training into his hobby as he did in his career. I mean, the only thing you get on here is just the thing we see frequently, which is like credential creep, where because I'm an expert in area A and I care about area B, we attack the same authority they have in area A to area B, even though the same expertise does not apply.
I think Socrates had some things to say about this too.
The problem with linguistics, though, is it does apply a lot of the same tools that are required in the study of linguistics go into subjects like the manufacturing of consent. It's not a field in linguistics, but I can see how a mind that is trained to study linguistics scientifically would enter into the realm of how information and language manipulates populations.
How much of the book Manufacturing Consent was itself a manipulation of the population, though?
I have no idea. I was just my only point, and the only reason I brought him up was he's just as suspicious of you, of the media outlets, or not even suspicious, outright cynical, right? And he said, but to get their 10%, to have they're interested in very specific arenas or points of leverage within the society. That to be effective, they have to be reliable. Say to be effective in the 10% they really care about, they have to be reliable outlets of information on the 90% that they aren't interested in. So in other words, the New York Times, if you're out to cause lots of havoc and you own the New York Times, you want your, I don't know, pick a department that doesn't matter, say, to your stock portfolio or whatever you're trying to win at, right? Whatever you're trying to game. You want the rest of the parts to be really good. And so that people will keep buying, because if you burn people, say your stock market reporting is really unreliable.
Mark, do you know what Gell-Mann amnesia is?
No, I don't know that one.
That is the phenomenon where someone will read something in a newspaper and it's within their domain of expertise, and they say, "Oh my gosh, that's wrong. That's clearly wrong. That's clearly wrong. What are they writing about?"
Yeah.
And anyway,
Sure,
I'll
right.
turn the page. Oh, this is really interesting. I'm just going to read this and believe it at face value. Like,
Right.
that is a very well documented phenomenon for people. It is like They can bullshit
which
a
makes it
lot.
really. No, I really get what you're saying, which makes our era really interesting because we have access to experts in pretty much everything. And so if you want deep knowledge on a subject, you can find it from an expert who will who will read the New York Times with that highly educated kind of focus,
But what's the
then
motivation
point
of
out
that
all the things
expert?
that are wrong.
But what's the
I don't
motivation
know.
of that expert? That's the yeah, and that's the
Well, yeah, I mean,
And that just doubles my media consumption time. Not only I have to read the New York Times, but then have them or have that experience mediated by a fact checker on a podcast somewhere.
yeah, it, I don't know. I wish I could tell you you're right that you don't that it's as bad as you think. The funny thing is, maybe I'm just maybe what is it? Survivor's bias. Maybe I'm lucky.
Mhm.
And so um, I've used the information, say in business or something, to my benefit, and it's worked out okay.
Mhm.
Um, and I know a lot of people who, I mean, you guys don't probably your grandparents' generation. Uh, did you have newspaper readers in your? Do you remember them? I mean,
Mhm.
there was a time when um, well, my mother's generation, my father's, and their parents, everybody took out newspapers, and all the businessmen, they had their Wall Street Journal subscription, and this is what people did, and they did. They there's no question they were being manipulated at a certain level by some people. But the funny thing is this is how the winners in life functioned.
Mhm. Well, and
They
big part of it,
subscribed to a certain consensus. Oh, go ahead, yeah.
yeah, a big part of that is something that gets picked up by American Psycho, actually, where you have this guy who is a freaking serial killer who is talking about just all of the like good liberal talking points at a dinner with his friends, and it's just like just because like someone can espouse these opinions, and that just makes like that lets other people know that they are in the same group as them, that they
Yeah.
are also someone who reads the New York Times. That doesn't mean they necessarily believe it. It just means that they know the magic words to say to make you believe that they are also part of your group.
That's the Jeffrey
Yeah.
Epstein phenomenon, right? I
Partly.
mean, it's you gain leverage by uh, faking it till you make it kind of thing, I
Well, and
guess.
if nobody calls you out on it, then away we go.
Sure.
Yeah, and in that case, what matters more is knowing the things that allow you to fit into the consensus.
Mhm.
If that's mostly the stated goal for being informed, that's not truth seeking.
No, it's not. I wouldn't necessarily demean it completely offhand though. It's more of like you have to understand that that is what you're engaging in. That you are reading the New York Times to be someone who reads the New York Times to other people who read the New York Times. And like there's a certain amount of information that is going to come in through that, for sure. Like you're like you are going to know things that you would not have known if you engage with the New York Times, Wall Street Journal, et cetera, et cetera. The question is, are you then going to be able to properly distill out what is actual data from this weird mishmash of whatever it is that's coming at you? And also, are you going to have the mental discipline to not just be a headline reader? Are you going to actually read through the article critically and realize, oh, the thing that person was said to have said in the headline, they didn't say that at all, or the context means that they meant something else when they said what the headline is pointing to? Or is there going to be confirmation bias and you just, like, you see that, oh, Orange Man said bad thing. Oh, I can't believe Orange Man would say bad thing. And then, like, or are you going to critically read and say, okay, I don't know if Orange Man said bad thing. And so I'm going to read through the whole article and verify that what was claimed to have been said in the headline is actually said by the end of the article. Yeah, Foxman, the news doesn't lie. What? You really think someone would do that? Just go to the New York Times and tell lies?
Well, what I do now is, well, let's skip that real quick. I just wondered, what something that I don't know if this, maybe I know I wasn't the only one, but there were a few of us in the early days of COVID, before it came to the United States, who saw it because I paid attention to obscure, strange news outlets.
I found about it from Styx Hexenhammer specifically. Yep.
Early on, right? So did you start stocking up early on while the shelves were still full?
Yep.
Too? Yes. Yep. It was helpful, wasn't it?
Yeah. And I this was part of Matt and I's conversation with Gray and Ethan, was this idea of, like, you should pay enough attention to know when a tidal wave is coming. COVID was a tidal wave.
Yeah. Yeah. And a lot of people, I mean,
they started lying to us pretty profusely, and actually
that was
telling
the other
us
thing.
not to do.
If you were following just the mainstream news, you probably would not have been prepared for COVID.
I know you wouldn't.
You were explicitly told not to prepare.
Mm-hmm.
Well, you were told not to. Well, but they were right about the mask situation.
You were told to go to events that were super spreaders.
Right. What was that? When did they say that? Help me out. I don't remember that one.
I mean, that was in New York. You were back in the days when the big concern was that this was going to cause some great racist, anti-Asian backlash. And so, like, no, go out to, like, the New Moon festivals and the giant parades outside. Mm-hmm. Pay no attention to the reports you're hearing about viruses.
Mm-hmm.
That I don't remember that. I'm sure it happened. I just don't remember.
That was absolutely a thing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, no, I remember the racism thing. Mm-hmm. I remember that. I just didn't remember the festival thing. I remember the switch, the back. What was it? The back and forth on masks, right?
Yep.
We need to preserve the N95s for medical professionals, and so don't rush out there and wipe out the supply, which people did anyways. It didn't make any difference. And then because it doesn't really make that big a difference, turns out now it makes a big difference. And now we want you to mask up everywhere. Mm-hmm. It was a confusing mess, no question. Mm-hmm. But if you paid attention to just, again, that kind of having information for information's sake, in a sense, because
but from whom?
The odds.
From whom? Like I'll name my source.
In my case, it was directly. I was following a journalist who was trapped in Wuhan, and I was paying attention to, and this Chinese weren't controlling him at all. Mm-hmm. He was able to get information out, and so as soon as the lockdowns, well, whatever he was reported, I can't remember the details now, but that's where I got my information, was kind of from a guy on location in China, who I could understand, of course. And I thought, I also, though, see, that's an example where it actually benefited us. So I stocked up on a whole bunch of crap and that we needed, it turns out. But I also had a similar reaction when there was a Ebola outbreak that went nowhere. Mm-hmm. So I wasted effort and time on one thing that didn't manifest because of information, and it did work out on the other one with COVID. So you can't predict,
Well, there's definitely the question of, like, how much of a false alarm can you tolerate, and, like, how often should you tolerate false alarms? Like, what's the false positive, false negative ratio that you want for a good early warning system?
And how costly is it, right? It didn't cost, whatever precautions I took regarding the Ebola thing were negligible. Mm-hmm. And the benefits to taking essentially the same actions with COVID were highly beneficial. Mm-hmm. So yeah. But if I'm building a bunker that costs me $100,000 and ends up just being a place to store potatoes,
Or in the event of an actual nuclear war, you're just trapped there until you die, and that's that. Yeah. Yeah, no,
yeah.
it's a question. It's an important question to ask. Is like, what are you actually trying to accomplish with your preparations, and then what information do you need in order to properly make the right preparations for whatever the emergency is that you're trying to prepare for. Like that's all really important parts of it, and like good that's like, because I think that part of the perception, at least that I was coming in with this, was that most of your news sourcing was from more mainstream sources. But the fact that you are diving into more specific niche things, like that's actually a really good sign. That shows me that like you are at least actively trying to pierce the veil of whatever it is that's being fed to people en masse.
Oh, yeah, I'm even suspicious of the New York Times cooking section. I mean, I don't take anything at face value in that sense.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, what basically I look for things. I don't read front to back the New York Times, which is kind of impossible online these days. I don't even know what the front or the back is.
Mm-hmm.
But I read. Oh, if I read 5% of it a day, I'd be surprised if I get through that much of it. Mm-hmm. What I look for are subjects that interest me, and I find it to be a really good source for whatever purpose that is. It's like to kind of keep current on certain things to see what people are talking, and then out of that tiny group of articles that I read every day, if there's another smaller percentage of that I go and maybe chase down, like the COVID thing, because I'm sure that there was reporting on NPR and the New York Times about what was happening in Wuhan. That drove me to that YouTube channel where I got all my early warning information. I'm almost certain I didn't stumble upon him first. I'm pretty sure that it came through some major media outlet that something was happening over there.
But don't worry.
But there's nothing to worry about. Exactly. There's always no panic.
Nothing to see here, citizens. Go back to your lives.
Yeah. Now here's a question for you though. Now, do you think? See, you guys have never lived. How old are you, Skank? Do you mind saying?
Enough.
Are you? I mean, you and Afriel. Afriel, how old are you? Are you 30 yet?
I'm guessing
okay,
Skank's
you're 34.
In early 40s, if I remember correctly, but I don't remember exactly what.
Not quite.
Okay.
So you're both in your 30s. You're really close. I'm wondering if the quality of the news outlets, in spite of the fact that there's in a sense there's actually it's less information was offered, but
they used to put so much effort into the lies. They used to tell such good lies.
Well, they were some real whoppers. There were real whoppers told back in the day. But then there was a period of after Vietnam and Watergate. There was a short period where muckraking and investigative journalism, they were the new heroes. I don't know how long it lasted. Did it even last 10 years? But it was, say, from 75 to 19... I might even be able to push it all the way out to 1990. When... And I don't know if objectively you could say it was the golden age. I don't know. But there was a period of time when the quality seemed to be there, and there's no question people wanted to manipulate. I feel like that the manipulators had a harder time doing it. I mean, it's like Ross Perot came out of nowhere, and he was even though a billionaire, and he didn't win. That's a strange twist. So that we're. I'm just wondering if maybe maybe the maybe that's it's always been crap. That's very possible.
I think it's much safer to assume it's always been crap.
Yep.
Just because you can't trust
Yeah.
the goodness of people's intentions, especially in an industry that deals with the power that moves nations.
Except it's in a free market where there's competition, and I think it's
Yeah, but it's not.
the
But that doesn't reward truth seeking.
Yep.
Yeah, being
but the
believable is
truth.
not the same as being honest.
Help me out. What do you mean by that?
I mean, just because you say the thing that most people believe doesn't mean you're telling the truth.
No. That's not. Well, the kind of investigative journalism, that period, I don't think we see it as much. People actually really try to. Um, well, all the work, for example, that went into a movie was made about this a few years ago. All the work that went into the reporting that revealed the clergy scandal, the sex abuse of children in Boston. This is where it all broke. I think it was the Boston diocese, and it was can't remember the paper now, but it was that all the work that went into researching, double checking, getting it right. You don't think that was what? Where do you place that? Are you familiar with any of that story? The story
But
behind the
from the movie,
story, so to speak. So, what do you place that in your truth seeking and value mapping of the media landscape?
The question that always comes to my mind is, what is the motivation of the person who is saying whatever is being said? Because that's what it always comes down to, every single time. What are they trying to do?
Was reporting good? What was the reporting? Regardless of intent, was the reporting good?
I think that what was uncovered was stuff that actually happened. Yes. And I think that it was stuff that probably needed to be uncovered and needed to have been addressed by the Catholic Church within itself well before anyone outside of it would have ever known about it. But
the system produced that. I mean, that wouldn't have come out without the system being the way it is, or the way it was. I don't know if the same story could be broken in the way it was with that much care, because there was a lot of care involved, right? They weren't like well, I want to say Gizmodo, but what was
Gawker?
one of the crazy?
How about Gawker?
That's it. Gawker, that was it. It was that Gawker was notorious for coming out with stuff, too quick and bad reporting. No, this was real, but that was the kind of journalism that I kind of grew up around for a long time. When I say not totally grew up around, because I was born in '64, so let's say what I saw in the '70s and '80s, was what was thought of as good quality investigative journalism. That's what you expected, and it was a shock if you found out, as we would at say the 2000 aughts, where major news outlets would be scandalized by bad reporting, and major retractions and wholesale inventions. Right, we saw some of that, and for my generation, those events were like news. That was shocking, because that just didn't happen in the older media landscape that we kind of witnessed. And it seems like that that breaking of the clergy sex abuse scandal was maybe the end of that era, but it stuff like that really did happen and happened a lot. It happened around Love Canal. It happened around reporting.
Love Canal. That was the Superfund issue, right? Where there was a whole bunch of toxic stuff that got dumped. Yeah.
Yeah. And if I'd have to dig the archives of my brain to try to remember a whole bunch. But there were many of those kinds of stories, and it frustrated the political elite to no end. I mean, the animosity that the politicians and bureaucrats felt, and the business elite felt towards these journalists at these newspapers, particularly, was Trumpian. I mean, all the hate you see from Trump towards journalists was felt towards all of these guys back in the day. Somewhere along the line, they got, I don't know, fat and lazy.
So one of the things that I think this comes from, not Mencius Moldbug, I want to use his actual name, Curtis Yarvin, is, and I don't think it's just him, it's this notion of like elite theory. I think Academic Agents talked about it a bunch too, is whenever you see a fight happening at that scale, it's never actually the little guy punching up, and like, we like that story, but what's actually happening is you have different factions of elites properly leveraging tools, like organizational tools that they have at their disposal against each other.
Well, yeah, Hearst, right? He created, what is it? Something about I'll give you the war. I can't remember the exact famous quote.
Like yellow journalism kind of thing? I forget.
Yeah. It was around the Spanish-American War, and he played a role in promoting, making that happen. And he was a notorious manipulator. But that goes back to the funny thing is there, even in that era, the guy who wrote The Rise and Fall of the Third Reich, Hershey, I don't remember his first name. I don't remember who he worked for. I'm sure it was some major media mogul at the time. Might have been CBS. I don't remember. But he still did really good reporting, and in spite of his employer, and even like all of these, the rich publishers who owned the Washington Post or any of the major newspapers back in the day. That's always part of the story, is, the owners of the papers socialized with many of the individuals that their reporters were investigating.
Sources closest to X have heard XYZ. Yeah.
And yet it still happened. And yet still good stuff came out of it. I mean, they couldn't squash the pre-scandal story. They couldn't squash the Watergate story. Or the Love Canal, or any of the rest. I mean, there were good.
Different.
See what I'm saying? I mean, it's not all poison.
But again,
I mean, it's a matter
factions of elites. Sorry,
just saying that it's Again, like these are not things that are emerging out of desire for the truth, but for different competing interests.
Yes. And it's in the interest of the people for those competing interests to fight against each other, in my opinion, and to, as a consequence, kind of weaken each other as a result of them bickering and infighting. Like the people make out better in that situation.
Exactly.
But that doesn't mean that the people who are doing that reporting are doing so out of the kindness of their heart or because they are
Agreed.
right. And that's the danger, is that like if we're looking at these stories and we're saying, oh, but like look at the good reporting that was done, it's like, like that the reason for them to do that stuff was out of self-interest. Like, don't believe that like the reporters were some kind of great people for doing the investigative journalism that they did. They did their job, and they may also be good people. Like, I'm not going to deny that. Like, the reasons for why somebody gets involved in those kinds of investigations, a lot of times you have to actually believe in that kind of stuff for you to be willing to do that. But the people who are giving them the leads, who are giving them the direction to go after that, their motivations are incredibly suspect.
Of course. And they know that, though. The journalists, they know that. They know that this is that's why the editors are on their case all the time about second sources and double checking this and that and everything else, because we don't know if we're walking into a trap.
Yep.
We don't know if we're being manipulated.
And there's a lot of times where you'll have organizations or people who are very deliberately setting traps for whatever the journalism is. Like that was the whole thing with the girl with the dragon tattoo, which not a true story, obviously, but I think reflects a very real possibility, if not something that probably happened at some point, is you have journalists who are out trying to do investigative reporting on very powerful people, and those powerful people like the power that they have, and they don't really want to have these uppity journalists coming in and causing problems for them.
That's where, but I think going back to your point about the competition, that's what we want. We need to deflate this current group of super wealthy elites who are just monopolizing and
displace them with whom? Because the only time that, again, it's always
more
competing
elites.
factions of elites. Exactly. So
we just need more of them. They need to be they need to have less power.
That's a good answer.
Bear with me. Less power but more of them, so that they have to we have to increase competition.
Yes. 100%.
It's that, or we go to some kind of BBC model or something for the news, where the government controls everything, and of course we all know how well that works. So
sure
I mean,
it's BBC and not
it's either the very rich control it, or I mean, the situation we're in now. I mean, what, Elon Musk's worth over $800 billion. I mean, you can't compete against that. You have to level that, and not level it in a socialist way, but level it in a good capitalist way, so that what we want are let 1,000 flowers bloom kind of thing. We want let a lot of bad actors within a constrained way compete, and it's like even the journalist, right? I mean, a journalist, the journalist could be a bad husband or a bad wife, a miserable parent, doesn't pay their bills on time, a gambling addict, but a really good journalist who all they want to be is top dog in their field. They want to be the one who they have a super strong competitive streak, or they want to be famous, or they want to have a really killer book deal. So that's what drives them to do the reporting they do. They could be in every way an unchristian person, but still serve the public good. we need. I mean, the ecosystem needs wolves as much as it needs beavers.
Yeah, but there's comes a very dicey problem there of Christians shouldn't be in the business of summoning demons.
Well, it's just the world we live in that sense. I mean, because how are we going to how do we Christianize the media landscape?
Well, I don't think you do. I don't think that that's the right way of thinking about it.
People are trying.
Well, because when you say Christianize the existing media landscape, what that says to me is how do we retain most of the existing structure and just shift it slightly? And I don't think that that works. Like it's not. There's going to have to be tectonic shifts in the way that, like, because just the way that hierarchies work in most of what the world is right now. Like, it's just completely unworkable in terms of a Christian understanding in the way that I see it. And so if you want to actually, like, fix things, you can't, and, like, but you also can't just, like, Chesterton's fence is a thing too. You can't just tear everything down, because then you're going to cause mass starvation or whatever other problems are going to, because you don't know what it is that the existing bad system is actually providing for you. You take so much of it for granted that you don't actually know what your sovereignty is actually relying upon.
Yeah, that's why I mean, my instincts, even though I am thought of as left of center, my instincts are conservative for the most part.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's I'm not a big fan of revolutions. You know,
No, they
not that
very
mean such
very
things.
rarely end well. Or at the very least, they cause so much chaos and bloodshed. Like, there's the people that pay for them are the exact kind of people that the Christians are trying to help. The poor, the weak, the downtrodden. They're the ones who get the worst of it, the biggest shaft.
Mm-hmm.
New boss, same as the old boss.
Yep.
Yeah. So we want to tweak. We know we need to. We know that the system needs working. We know repairs need to be made.
Mm-hmm.
So we want to tweak. But you have to know what you got to know what you're doing to tweak.
Do you want to do? Is that even what needs to happen? I feel like just looking at something like newspapers, I mean, what's going to happen is it's just being starved out.
Yep. That's a good point.
And that's because it's an institution that no longer fits the ecosystem anymore. So it is no longer able to find the nourishment it used to find, and it's slowly running extinct.
Yeah,
we're not
switching.
We're not obligated. We're not obligated to preserve every institution necessarily.
Right. But people are still going to want information. They want to know what to invest in. They want to know. People, I found out, like, I don't know, a few years ago, before things got really bad with my mom, and my time had to be dedicated to her. I was running a little local journalism experiment, and I was doing local reporting on City Hall,
Mm-hmm.
and it was astonishing how how quickly I went from 0 to 60 on that. I mean, it was like people really wanted local information, and they got real disappointed when they found out I couldn't keep it going.
Mm.
they were real interested in the fact that they had a city council person who was behaving inappropriately and conspiring to attack another. I kind of look back on it going, I was kind of stupid doing the way I was doing without any insurance, but I did. But it doesn't really matter that it's a paper. And this is the thing about the democratization of all this stuff.
Mm-hmm.
It sounds like, if it isn't being done, it sounds like we're really close to, like, Skank, you could make an app for your zine. You wouldn't even
Let me push back
do
on
the
this.
actual.
I think
go ahead.
democratization is a bad word for it, because you're putting power into the hands of the people, but it's not about trying to make everyone equal. And I don't know what magic was done when that was the word that was settled on for, like, how to properly describe whatever the distribution of power out to more people should be termed, but it's not democracy. And I'm not bringing this up because I have the answer for it. I just want to bring it up because it's something that's been, like, pecking.
It's the wrong choice
at
of
my
words,
mind.
maybe.
Well, no, it's consistent. It's the consistent choice of words with how they are currently being used. But it's one of those words that's like, that's a spell. I can tell that's a spell. I don't know what the right word for it is, but I know that's a spell. I just wanted to.
Well, I'm not saying it's a good thing or a bad thing. It's like there's a book called The Democratization of American Christianity by Ethan Hawke.
Mm-hmm.
It's a really good book, by the way, for the history of the church in America.
Mm-hmm.
And what he means by the democratization of
no, I know
Christianity.
What it means. It's the distribution of it out to the masses. It's allowing more people to have a say in the power structure of it. Right? Is that? Or is there more to it?
Yeah, well, and the undermining of established hierarchies and old systems of authority.
Yep.
Particularly, in the case of America, it's the a war was fought and Europe was essentially kicked out of American religion, in ways that had lasting effects on the culture. And that's the sense in which I'm using it.
No, and I understand. I understand what you're saying when you say it, and I think the colloquial usage, like, I get that. I just wanted to point out that I see that as a spell, and I just wanted to articate that.
So
and just get
how
it
would you put it so that it's not a spell?
But that's the problem, is I don't know what the right word is. Like, this is very much edge of my thinking, where it's like, I can tell that's a spell. I can tell it's the wrong word. I have no idea what the right word is, and especially, like, when you have, like, my mind has been bathed in the same mind control that says that democratization is the right word for it. Like, I know it's not, but I can't get out of my box yet.
A broader distribution of power.
Yes. And like, that concept, that's what that is. Like, that's what you're pointing to. But using democratization as the word for that pointer, it's the wrong word, and I don't know what the right word is. It just bugs me. Sorry, that was a horrible tangent. Please get back to what you were saying, Mark.
It's a pet peeve. A pet peeve. I don't know what you mean by spell.
I think it was a good tangent, and that's a good point. I mean, it's a democratization. I mean, democracy is a propaganda term.
When I think of it, and it's, what is it? It's a Greek word, right? Originally, I mean,
probably
demos. Does it have Greek origins? You're the
make me look this up.
Seminarian, right?
It does, but I don't speak Greek, and most people I talk to don't speak Greek either. So the Greek etymology doesn't
think of
really
it.
mean all
I'm
that
just
much.
thinking of it. Yeah, I think of the demos.
Because I'm a speech act theory guy. I'm a pragmatic use of language guy. So it is like its particular usage in the specific context we live in. Like,
okay.
Like, you walking around with the etymology, and like a true etymology in your head isn't helpful because you're trying to communicate with other people.
Well, let's just put it this way. This is
I'll give the etymology.
10 years ago.
Democracy originates from the ancient Greek word demokratia, coined in, and Ups is going to hate me for the butchering of that, coined in the 5th century BC to describe the political system of Athens. It is formed by combining the word demos, common people or district, with kratos, rule, power, or strength, literally translating to power of the people or rule by the people. So there you go.
There you go. There you go. So let's put it this way. 20 years ago, well, 15 years ago, writing an app was a big deal. An app for iOS or for Android. Was there an Android phone back 15 years ago? I don't even remember. If there was, it wasn't very good. So, but writing apps that was for the magicians, right? In technology, the coders, the guys who really knew what they were doing. And to make one that could work and then work and then not get hacked and or not break, even more magic was required there. Mm-hmm. And I know people are doing it. I just don't know how good it looks because I've never tried one of these. But total amateurs or people with real low levels of knowledge, non-magicians, are building apps using LLMs. Mm-hmm. And it's like, so a time may come when you don't need a Substack anymore. You just need a server and affordable bandwidth, and Skank could, over a weekend, use his favorite LLMs to create a very functional, if not more than functional, powerful app to run his zine. Okay, and he could, and not only that, he could write other apps or other tools to maintain security and manage subscriptions and all the rest of it, and cut out the middleman entirely, and be his own little media mogul, right? That's a distribution of power from big guys to little guys that wasn't there before. That almost seems equivalent to a kind of the land rushes of the Old West. It's a kind of technological homesteading that this stuff just wasn't available to us a few years ago, and now it looks like it will be. So the reason I'm going through all this, it's like, now say Skank wasn't going to run a literary magazine, he's going to run a local news outlet. Mm-hmm. He wants to talk about his city council. And he's got a couple partners, and next thing you know, you get 1,500, 2,000, 3,000, 30,000 subscribers, and you got to run it, and they pay a little bit every month for that information, and you actually have a business. Now, part of your business may involve pleasing those subscribers and or pleasing your advertisers, mm-hmm. which then will or may compromise the quality of your reporting. Mm-hmm. You've got the power. You didn't have it before. Mm-hmm. You've got your little stake, your homestead. You got your stake. You got your business. And you're a force in the world. And where you would not have been a force before, you're now a force in the world. But that doesn't mean you're beyond being compromised. Mm-hmm. But I think, how is this not the way God made it, in a sense?
What do you mean?
Constraints aren't all bad.
No, constraints are what produce complexity, and complexity is beautiful.
Yeah, it's. You should have to really work hard at say you are reporting on your local city council.
Mhm.
There, it's good that you can get sued for bad reporting, for
Mhm.
slander or something.
Mhm.
Um, on the other hand, if that too much of that will choke it out too, though, right? So it's good that you shouldn't. The fact that you have sometimes you just can't do everything you want to do. It's not the end of the world, and it doesn't make you less. It wouldn't make the this new startup newspaper sort of app that I'm talking about, for example, it wouldn't. The fact that you can't report on every story, but you can report on a lot of them,
Mhm.
and it's I don't know. I guess I'm kind of wandering. I apologize, but
No,
it
you're
just
good.
seems to me like it's just not all a bad thing.
No, but there's dangers associated with it. Like, very like once you start trying to lean into acquiring power, like if you do not have your head on straight properly, and like a big part of what I see issues with is that the way that we conceive of hierarchies currently is very much like you need a one to many distribution, and that doesn't that's the negative version of what a hierarchy should look like in my mind. Like if you're not actively if the people above are not actively promoting the growth and development of those below them to match and potentially surpass where they are currently at, that like it's the same energy as like a parent who sabotages their child because they don't want their kid to do better than them, because that means
Mhm.
that makes them feel like a failure personally, even though it's actually in my mind a greater success if you're able to train somebody to exceed you. That means that you actually had a deep enough understanding to go further. You just for whatever reason couldn't, and you were able to get somebody else over the line that you couldn't get over yourself. Like that's powerful.
But there's danger too. I mean, going back to the homestead thing, right? You
Mm-hmm.
could have stayed. You could stay back east on back in town, not taking your chances. Stay on Dad's farm.
Mm-hmm.
Um, why did people want their own land, or why did they want bigger farms, or whatever they did? They went out. They went west.
Mm-hmm.
Um, took chances. Um, ran into some hostile natives along the way, probably,
Mm-hmm.
possibly.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I mean, you can stay at home and be humbler, poorer, um, compete in a overcrowded situation in Philadelphia or wherever, uh, or you can take your chances in the wilderness and start your farm in some unknown land, and in the hopes that someday you'll make something for yourself.
Mm-hmm.
You just don't know. But it's that it's but the, what drives a person to do this sort of thing is it's pretty raw. It's pretty materialistic, right? It's the drive for more or better,
Hmm.
whatever that is thought to be.
Well, but
And if that wasn't there, it wouldn't happen.
what is that more or better driving towards though? Like
Oh, it can, oh, it could be
well, and
anything.
that's like that's the thing is like it's been bugging me for so long is like there's this weird implicit assumption like people people deliberately cut themselves off from eschatology because they say that's too far in the future, I can't possibly get there. And so they just try and say, okay, like I just need to make like small improvements based off of what's right in front of me. And the problem with doing it that way is that you can just be led by the nose by somebody who has an eschatology in mind.
Right.
But
Right.
how do you even, like,
Totally.
if people aren't, like, I didn't know what the word eschatology was until a good bit of time in the TLC. It's just not a word that's in common parlance. It's like like there's kind of like gamer understandings of like what's your end game, what are your objectives and stuff like that. But in like having that as like what do you want the world to look like at the end of days? Like that as a concept put into a word. Like I think the only mainstream person I've heard say that would be Ross Douthat, probably. Also, Skink, you've been quiet for a minute. What are your thoughts here?
Yeah.
Oh, I'm getting. I mean, I think personally, eschatology is insanely important in political discussions because,
Mm-hmm.
like, you put the nail on the head there. Where like, does your vision for what you want your life to look like, does that correlate with what you believe the destiny of the world is?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And also eschatology, I mean, at least in a lot of ways, the Christian is the hope that there's the question of like the seed of all of the world's potential is in competition with all of the predatory things and parasites that have latched themselves onto the world, and it's sort of an implicit hope that like the seed of everything the world could become, like if it is allowed to conquer and will like become like will shake off all of the parasites and become everything it's intended to be.
Mm-hmm.
How do I live in light of the seed of everything the world could become?
And how do I properly live so that way I can try and help invite that into being too?
Right.
Yeah.
Right. How do I play my role of providing fertilizer for the seed rather than ground poisoning pesticide or whatever?
So, in other words, you're saying how am I contributive versus?
Well, it also kind of comes into play here because I mean, I think journalists are definitely a parasitic job profession. And so there's the question of not every job is going to make it into the eschaton. Like not every job is going to be necessary.
I think that there's a good place for journalists, but it is much like what Mark was saying before about like, hey, there's a whole bunch of people in my city who want and need good, accurate reporting on what's going on in these city council meetings, and they don't have the time or energy to be able to attend every single one. So if we can pool our resources together and say, okay, we're going to have one person who's going to go and they're going to take notes and report back, and like we're going to have like everybody else kind of keep an eye on them to make sure that they don't get caught up in the corruption of whatever it is that we're suspecting is going on.
Sure.
Like that's the idea of having a Republican system, like where you have a representative of the polis who then goes and like because it's too much to have everyone be involved in every decision. Or just like in the involved in the process of observing and keeping an eye on the process of governance.
Well, and it takes a real grandiose sense of self to do that. By the way,
yeah. I wasn't going to pin that to you, but
no. I know that about myself. No, you've got to almost enjoy the fights that you will inevitably make for yourself.
Mm-hmm.
You have a sense of self-importance, a sense of privilege.
Mm-hmm.
I have a right to this information.
Mm-hmm.
I have a right to expect you to answer me honestly.
Mm-hmm.
I have a right to hold you to account.
Mm-hmm.
Right? I mean, this is real arrogance.
It doesn't have to be arrogance, or I don't think it has to be arrogance.
Well,
it definitely can be, and it definitely often is. But
You think you're David and they're Goliath. Okay. Now you may be, you may be, you may be not. But it's and it and in some ways it having some years have passed now since I've been a journalist, and put myself in that situation, but I don't know if I got the cojones anymore. I think age and experience have taken it out of me. In just 10 years, right? 10 years is the time. In many ways, you could say I'm in 10 years of a drastically different man, just because. Does that mean I'm wiser,
Probably.
weaker, more cowardly?
Well, I don't think it's cowardice. Like, I think that
What is it?
well, it gets unfairly labeled as cowardice a lot of times, but it's like it takes
Prudence?
a certain unawareness of the potential costs that you could bear to be willing to charge headlong into that kind of a thing.
Yeah, yeah. No, yeah, total it's stupidity, right? I mean, it's
Not stupidity.
what kind of mess am I making myself? Yeah,
It's
but there
unawareness.
is unawareness. Yeah,
Because it's not that you're making an irrational decision. It's that you are making what you understand to be a rational decision, but based off of incomplete information. And based off, like, it's not it's incomplete in the sense that there's no way that you could know what it is that you are
Everything.
trying to know. Like, you don't know what it's like to experience something until you've experienced it. That's just
well,
how
in a
the world
sense, what
works.
you develop is almost a legal standard. I'm going to tell you a story about real people in the real world and about events. I'm not going to be able to tell you all of it because I only got 1,500 words or whatever. But I'm going to tell you the story. And it's good enough that under American law,
I can't be sued for it.
I can't be sued for it. And in fact, it's going to be so good that if they try to sue me, I'll win the countersuit.
Yep.
That's basically that's the way I did my reporting. So anything I tell about you in an American court is going to cost you money if you go after me for it. Okay. Now, why would I want to live that life of headache?
Why would you? Don't ask it rhetorically. Ask it seriously.
See,
Why
no,
did you
I mean,
want to do that?
No. I really believed in it. I believed in the project. I had the grandiose sense of self. I believed that certain Goliaths needed to be taken down. I saw certain facts needed to be reported upon, etc. I really believe in what I'm doing. So yeah, I mean, I believed in it. It's good enough, and it's a great way to if I were, for example, I think it would have been a pretty good little business had I been able to stick with it, right? So there was a business kind of model in my mind. So I mean, it's great. Who doesn't want to do good in the world and make money at it, right? Be able to make a living, not get rich, just make a living, pay some bills with it, say. It beats real estate, right? I mean, not that real estate's bad. It's just that it's one of the most inglorious careers one can imagine. And both can get you sued. But
pretty much anything can get you sued, honestly.
Yeah, pretty much. You stick your head up, over the weeds. Yeah, you can get anything. You do anything in this country, you can get sued for it. Write a good song, you'll get sued for it. No matter how original it is.
I'll sue
if it makes money, you're going to get sued. If you
look at me
for
funny,
it.
I'll sue you. There's a Weird Al song there.
But I was going to say, there's a John Henry Newman. I think that I'm really becoming a fan of John Henry Newman. I think it's this guy who said it. He said, the most useful. No, it's not John Henry Newman. Maybe where was this? It's a Catholic guy. Maybe it's Aquinas. I don't remember. The best information is the most useless, or
Say more.
the best. It's something about the best activity. Maybe I can't get that right. It's it's on the tip of my tongue, but it's the idea is the very best things in life are the things that are the most useless. And I'll have to pull up the whole to get it right for you because it's
While
too
you're
good
pulling
to
it
mess
up, Noah, what do you mean by don't make a game that has any mechanics that seem like Pokemon? You're just gonna get dragged for it? Like, what's the thought there? Also, it's 9:30. Probably wrap
Jeez,
up.
dude.
Yeah, it is. Probably wrap this part of the conversation up, and I think we're gonna be done for the night.
Yeah, never mind. It's John Ruskin apparently.
Okay.
Remember that the most beautiful things in the world are the most useless. That might be where it came from. It's been
I don't think that's
used. I'm
necessarily
going to have to
true.
look this up more.
Oh, if you don't want to be sued. Yeah, Nintendo's not litigious. I don't know what you're talking about, Noah.
Yeah, I've been paying attention to chat.
Also,
So yeah.
Disney.
Anyways, have a good Easter. Everybody going to church tomorrow?
I will not be just because I'm a heathen right now. So. I did abide by Lent though. I gave up alcohol and tobacco, so did pretty good with that.
Cool. I didn't.
We timed the camping trip right then.
Yes, we did.
You're gonna get toasted next week. Goodness.
All right. Well, thanks for the conversation.
Mm-hmm. Thank you, Mark. I appreciate this.
All right. Have a good.
Do you know how to?
Shoot, I'm not in YouTube.
Do you know how to close this out, Mark?
I do not. I do not. I don't know how you do it.
Goodbye then. Be safe, friends. Don't you dare go hollow. Night, everybody.
Ciao.
Bye.